good evening, everyone out there in our sports media world. If that might be Twitter, also known as X, Facebook, YouTube. What else we got? Instagram. I don't think we do too much on Instagram. Podcasts later during the week, of course. We are so excited to bring you our next episode of MNC Hoops. With me, of course, I am Michael. Next to me, we got Nick and CJ. Guys, how you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic, man. Glad to be back, man. CJ was mentioning before we went live that the NBA is coming down to the wire, and I'm going to say this might be one of the best times of the year. I think it's this time, and then, of course, the holidays, man, where we got March Madness getting ready to begin. We got the NBA playoffs about to come in around April time, which is around my birthday. So, this is a really good time of year where hoop fans are excited.
Yeah, man, I agree. This is second half, big storylines. Teams are gonna lock in. Some other teams got to get healthy. This is the best time. It's like 26 games left in the season, so these teams are gonna try to take it serious. Man, this is where seeding matters. You look at those playing teams. They got to get some stuff done. They can't be lackadaisical. Guys got to be in the lineup. These are like This is like the playoffs before the playoffs. So they got to get focused and ready to go.
Do you think after the All-Star break is like really when the season kind of starts to be more aggressive? I'll say that as far as the play style, the defense, and everything. To me, this is like the mini season about to go. Here in 26 games left, that's very short. That's a junior high season, really, right there. So it is crunch time. And last week when we talked about it, some of these games are sort of, as far as the seedings, 5, maybe 7 games are the difference between 2 through 8 seeds. So do you all think that's kind of fitting? Like after All-Star break, it's crunch time now.
Yeah, it's got to be, especially for a lot of those bottom-seeded teams. Like if you're in that play-in slot, and and you still have a chance to possibly move up in the standings in your conference, I think that this is a really good time. Like for instance, like the Los Angeles Lakers, who I want to say have now lost 2 of their last 3 games to start out the second half of All-Star weekend, the second half of the season. They lost to the Warriors and they beat San Antonio Friday. Then they just lost to Phoenix today. So this is a really crucial time for a lot of the bottom-seeded teams to really try to establish themselves as true playoff contenders. I mean, obviously some of the top teams as well, because you want to end the season off with some momentum, but definitely for those bottom-seeded teams who want to establish themselves and prove that they are legitimate contenders.
Facts.
Well, I know for myself, it's definitely an exciting time. Of course, alone for the NBA. Of course, you can see Toby Smith autographed basketball behind my shoulder. I'm a big Kentucky fan, my other show. So, it's March Madness time, too, almost. So, it's a great time for basketball. And, of course, there's already announcements going on. I don't know with you guys, but as far as the basketball tournament coming up, I think in July, Kentucky's actually going to have an alumni team. It's the first time we've ever had an alumni team. Eric Bledsoe's already committed to it. So, it's getting kind of interesting to see some of this going on for a Kentucky fan because, let's be honest, some of our alums since then are pretty stout. So, it'd be interesting to see who all commits to this.
Hey, y'all, real quick, Michael, I don't know if you saw it, but I saw a clip this week with former Wildcat DeMarcus Cousins saying that he's content with, how his NBA career went and how he's looking to move on. Did you see that? What are your thoughts on that?
I have not seen that.
I want to say he was on PG's podcast, I think it was.
Okay.
I'll
have to give that a look. I mean, let's be honest. He was a dominant player for sure. He just doesn't have any kind of rings or anything everyone with it. He was always hateful wherever he went to, basically. The Pelicans run would have been great if he didn't have that Achilles tear. I watched that one live when it happened, and it made me sick to my stomach. The dude it was on a free throw, crunch time during a fourth quarter game, and he got the offensive rebound, a crucial rebound too. And then he went to turn at the baseline to do something, and it just popped on him. It was like, oh man, that looks like that's ankle ligaments, so something right there. And it turned out the Achilles. Yeah. And again, the Pelicans, they were really, when guard dominant kind of basketball is going on, they had AD and Cousins who were making it happen. And then they matched up. Well, they were a mismatch for every team because one person could create everything as a ball handler at the 5, and the other one, I mean, if you mess with him, he's going to kill you pretty much. Cousins was a loose cannon and could back it up. And for some reason, the NBA refs would allow Cousins to be as physical as he was. It was so weird because, I mean, there's times where you just see him move people and was able to battle for rebounds, put the buckets, and get on. I enjoyed his career. I think he's one reason why the Kings aren't where they're at. For the fact that we actually noticed them. Granted, they built past him with the whole movement of Brown and Fox and everything with that. But did he get a ring with the Warriors?
No, but I was going to ask, like, is he considered a champ? Because people forget he was technically on that Lakers roster in 2020. Like, people forget they signed him and they later signed Dwight Howard because he got hurt. So I don't know. He might not be considered a champion, but he was on that
He
roster.
probably has a ring from that. Honestly, I was thinking the Warriors, but probably the Lakers.
No, the Warriors lost. The Warriors lost that year that he came to the team in 2019.
Right. But he probably did get one with the Lakers if he was on the roster.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's on his resume or not. I have to go back and look. But.
Yeah. I'm not sure
because that's what came on with that.
I'm not sure either. Yeah, he had a really good career. Unfortunately, that kind of the beginning of his prime was plagued with a lot of injuries. They say your prime is like 28 to 32, and like around that area for him, the Achilles, then the ACL, then the quad. I mean, you have three of the worst lower extremity injuries for an athlete, for a basketball player you could have, and he's a big guy too. So that recovery process is a lot different. Since he's bigger, he's already putting a lot of weight and strain on those types of parts of his body. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that his best years were with an organization and with a team that had zero direction, right?
Yep.
And they were in the lottery every single season after they got him. We saw Cousins. Okay, he can bring some life, and he could potentially be a guy you could build around, but. They kept, when you miss that many times in the lottery, like the way they missed. I mean, for that, man, I could go on and on, man. I ain't trying to bash this, but that was the last regime, right?
Yeah.
And his career is one of the things that we kind of don't talk about a lot is where he couldn't control who they draft, right? And, but. His attitude sometimes, some of the ways he acted definitely didn't help, and that might have been. Listen, I can't speak for him. He's a grown man; he can speak for himself. Like I said, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear the interview. Definitely going to check that out later. But just some of the stories and the things that came about. Is that a testament to tired of losing? When you're losing that much, everything gets magnified, and because he's the best player on a not a very good team and not a well-run organization. Everything is highlighted in everything that he does when you don't win. I'm sure that's going to play a factor into it. But when he went to the Pelicans, I was like, yes, because it took a couple years before people started to realize like the big man position was back, with Jokic and Embiid. But had those guys stayed healthy, they would have brought it earlier. And you talked about that team. They had Rondo and Drew Holiday as the backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like all they needed was a small forward and they were good. That's all they needed was a floor space and small forward with that roster. They would have been Gucci.
Who was that? Who was it? Rondo and who else? I'm trying to remember. Was it Drew?
Rondo and Drew Holiday? Yeah. Rondo and Drew Holiday.
Did they have I can't even think of his name. Played for the Kings for quite a while. I've got his autograph over here. Can't think of it.
Buddy Hield?
No, one that's been bouncing everywhere.
Hill got.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, Hill got traded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I got to look at the card.
Yeah, because they had great chemistry. They were Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. They had great chemistry.
Did they have Tyreek Evans? Because he was back and forth.
He might have been off the bench.
He might have been.
I think he was.
He might have been off the bench.
Because that was when Ish Smith was coming around with Gentry as the coach on that.
Yeah, Alvin Gentry.
Fast pace.
And that's another thing too about Sacramento. They didn't have a lot of great coaches. I mean, Keith Smart. They had Michael Malone for a little bit. I mean, who would have thought? I remember when they had Michael Malone, and now he's a champion and one of the best coaches in the world, right? Just situation matters. That's really what I'm trying to say. And that situation in Sacramento wasn't the best for him, and obviously for the city. So It's a good thing they figured some things out. But overall, Boogie's career, I mean, there's nothing to really be ashamed of. It was injuries that plagued his career. It wasn't like he just woke up one day and was dirt. Like it was because he got hurt.
And even then, I still thought he was a really good player, even after the injuries. Obviously, he wasn't as dominant as he was before, but I remember that year that he played in Denver. He was a really good backup big behind Jokic. And even it was to the point where I think a year later they signed DeAndre Jordan. I was like, yo, what are y'all doing? Why are you signing DeAndre Jordan instead of keeping Boogie? But I mean, even besides, the injuries and everything, I still thought DeMarcus Cousins had a pretty good career.
As CJ usually says, facts.
Facts.
All right, CJ, let's go. I'm going to click it because that's all I know on it. MNC Hoops.
Yeah, man. I mean, Michael and Nick have been in the news this week. First up, we're going to start out with our guy Michael.
Oh, okay.
New episode of Cat's Chat.
Oh, all right. I appreciate the shout out.
Talk to the people what happened last week on Wednesday.
Okay, well, honestly, a couple weeks ago, Nick was asking me how I got certain players to come on my show a few times, and so I just kind of told him, "Hey, I have no shame, and I go to these colleges, basically staff, and just send out some emails, started talking to him about something." So I'm like, you know what, Scott Padgett, who is a former, actually, I had to bust out this picture while I was on the episode. Here is Scott Padgett that I met him when I got his autograph, but reached out to their PR and actually got him to come on to the show. So it was fun for me because Scott Padgett grew up in Kentucky, is from Louisville, and to hear him actually talk about how Rick Pitino recruited him. I don't know if you guys checked the episode out or not, but it's actually kind of comical. He coaches now for Mississippi State and, had his state uniform and everything on. But hearing him talk about that, he actually said, back then in the 90s, what would go on was, they basically went to a tournament where you kind of showcased yourself. It's not the AAUs back then in the 90s, but he said afterwards, everyone goes back to your hotel rooms. You have to share your hotel room with some of your players and whatnot. And he said the phone rung inside the hotel, and his roommate said it was Rick Pitino. And he picked up the phone. And he said it didn't sound like Rick at all. And he hung up on him, said somebody was playing a joke. Well, Rick Pitino called back and said, "Hey, it's really me. We know you're from Louisville, and it's a done deal for you to go to Louisville." And he said, "Coach, I want to move away a little bit from where I grew up and play elsewhere. It doesn't matter where I go, but it's not going to be Louisville." And he actually on the show said, "Coach Pitino, if you offer me, I'm coming to Kentucky." He said, "Well, we want you." And that's basically how he got recruited. So it was a lot of fun hearing that side of the story of a famous player, in my opinion, because he went on to play for Houston a few seasons. He got drafted by the Utah Jazz as well. And he's was the head coach at Samford for a few years, and now he's an assistant head coach at Mississippi State. So go check that out, Cat's Chat Pod, and we do appreciate all the follows on that. We stream live at Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Cat's Chat, make sure to check that out.
Yeah. This week's guest is someone that deals with the NILs. It's going to be very interesting. We got a group that's actually called the let's see here, Club 15. They do like memberships, different things where you get access to certain autographs or like player meetings and all this stuff. So we got the president of the club that's going to come on the show and hopefully answer any kind of questions we have as far as the NIL deals and how they actually work. So I'm actually really excited about that. You muted. Can't hear you.
Can't wait to be tuned into that one, right, guy? Okay, so that's Cat's Chat Pod. Look into that. And every Wednesday at
8:30 p.m. Eastern time.
8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then
look at CJ.
Nick got For the Love of the Game.
Every Thursday, to be exact.
So we got a new episode out that just dropped. We want to talk about that, let the people know what's going on.
Yes, sir. Shout out to my guy Kev for coming on. I don't know, he might be in here watching, but definitely shout out to my guy Kev. Probably one of the more college basketball experts out there. I'll be honest, man. Kev knows college basketball from literally everything. Like, he can break down literally every program, every player on the team, talk about the strengths, weaknesses, and everything. Like, literally every conference, everything, man. So shout out to Kev, man. It's kind of crazy that like nobody's really giving him like a real like big opportunity covering college, because I feel like if you ask me, this just might be my biased opinion, but Kev knows college basketball just as good or even if better than the people that we see on TV. So shout out to Kev, man.
Oh, definitely knows basketball because he's a Heat fan and a Kentucky fan, right? So I mean, he knows his stuff for sure.
Definitely college basketball, I'll tell you that. I mean, NBA too. College just basketball as a whole, but definitely college. Like, that's been a strong suit for as long as I've known him.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, that's for the love of the game. And then also we heard you got a new collab with Believe.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Believe Network. It's crazy. Like, this all literally happened this week. Like, this all literally happened. So I have a few guys who have been with Believe for a little minute. Shout out to my guy Bryce, who covers the Hawks there, and shout out to a few other guys as well. So I just so happened to be on their website literally like last Saturday, and I just dove into it, and then talked to a bunch of people. Then I just get in. I got an email this Monday getting an offer to say, hey, we see that you cover Florida State, because I mean, a lot of people know I cover Florida State for Chop Chat. Shout out to them. I've been going to a lot of games this year and just being able to dive into that team throughout the season. And then I get an email, I get an offer, and they say, hey, would you want to host our Florida State basketball podcast? And I was like, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, and I know that people, it's crazy because I was on the phone with my grandma, and she was like, how are you going to juggle all this? You already got like 3-4 podcasts and that. And I'm like, I know, I'm crazy, but no, this is a dope opportunity, and I couldn't walk away without it. So shout out to Believe for giving me the opportunity. Shout out to God for this opportunity as well, all the blessings and everything. And I'm just really excited. I just recorded the first episode today, so it should be out really, really soon. So be sure to tune in.
Awesome. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Look out for that Believe in FSU basketball with Nick Andre. This guy's on the rise, man.
Appreciate it. We all are, man. We all are.
This guy's on the rise. We're not done yet, though. This guy's not done yet going viral.
Whoa. I'm not calling him out here. I will see what he says.
House of Highlights got my guy going, man. So talk about this one, man. This is the second time at least I've seen you.
This is the second time. Yeah, the first time was in the preseason. I put out a tweet about Victor Wembanyama, and they just happened to see it snatching and then posted on their Instagram page. This one here, I was actually out with a few of my friends. We were actually out bowling, and I was just so happened to scroll down Instagram, and I just so happened to see this crazy stat line from this girl. Shout out to this high school player. She's super dope. I haven't had a chance to actually go see the game itself or actually go back and look at the highlights, but I definitely will do that. So I'm scrolling down Instagram, and I just so happen to see it, and I'm like, dang, this is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen I don't even know how to pronounce it, quintuple double or something like that. I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime. Like, and I mean, whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But either way, it's still crazy. I mean, we've seen quadruple doubles. Shout out to David Robinson for doing that. And we've seen a lot of great performances. Obviously, we've seen guys like Russell Westbrook average a triple-double for like 3 or 4 straight seasons. But we've never seen anything like this at any level of basketball. So I was like, no, I got to post this. So screenshotted it, ended up posting it on my Twitter or X page. And then it just went crazy. Like, just went crazy out of nowhere. I got one retweet. Then I just so happened to see on my phone. And then it says, Cheryl Swoops quoted your tweet. And I was like, wait, who? So I look, so I have to click on there, and it really was Cheryl Swoops. And I was like, nah, there's no way. Like, I was like shocked, because if you know me, Cheryl Swoops is one of my personal favorite players in WNBA history. So for her to be able to see my post and then comment on it, that was super dope to me too. And then it just got to the point where like my phone was just blowing up like crazy. Like it went from like it went up to like probably like 1,000 likes within like probably like 10-15 minutes, like no joke. And wow. It got to the point where I was like, no, I got to mute this tweet. I can't have my phone just keep blowing up like this. So, yeah, Cheryl Swoops was one person to comment on it. Another player was Lexi Brown. Y'all may see Lexi Brown, obviously, in the WNBA, but also on, what's it called? Gil's Arena, I want to say is his show. So, definitely shout out to Lexi Brown as well. I also tried to reply to her to her tweet, but she never responded to me. But it's all love at the end of the day. But no, I mean, it just blew up out of nowhere. Then of course I wake up Friday morning and I see everybody else posting it too, and I'm like, I mean, let's just be real. Like nobody was talking about this before I actually posted it. So people may not give me that credit, but all the real people who saw the tweet obviously know who was the first to actually break the news and to actually show people what actually happened. So once again, shout out to this player for making this happen, and I'm just happy for the nice little viral moment.
Yo, like I was shocked because at first I only saw the picture, like the quintuple double. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Then I really looked and I said, oh, House of Highlights, and then I saw the amount of likes. I'm like, yo, this is the second time like Nick's been on House of Highlights IG, and yeah, bro, it's crazy. It's crazy. It was a hell of a week. For both guys, man, for Michael and Nick. All right, man, let's get back to the NBA, though. Let's get back to this NBA talk.
Sounds good. Listen, I want to ask you, CJ, Knicks Boulevard. You've not done that much this year, have you?
Yeah. Just kind of taking a break, with that for a while. Okay. But hopefully, like, as the season comes to an end, definitely we're going into the playoffs, start to get back on that.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and move over for the kickoff of the second half of actually our show. That was kind of more of an intro, I guess, for everything. Guys, before we get started, I'm going to beat Nick to it. Scroll across the bottom. If you guys are going to any kind, or gals, when I say guys, I mean everyone. If you're going to any of the events coming up, the NBA, the March Madness coming up, any girls' college basketball, whatever it is, and you purchase your tickets with SeatGeek, use our promo code MNC Hoops and get $20 off of your very first purchase on SeatGeek. That promo is MNC Hoops. I beat you to it. So here we go, second half.
Yo, there's a way that we could reverse it, right?
I'm going to try to fix it. Let me do this one first, see how that does. That's still too small. I'll have to edit one. Let me see. I don't know what happened to it because we had one where we're on the right side and it's not there no more. Tell you what, let's just do this. We'll let you talk. We'll
I'm about to say, you're putting me on the spot first.
No. It's CJ's topic. We're going to start with Hillary.
Yeah, so, just looking at the landscape of the NBA, we start with the Eastern Conference. Just a little bit, some second half narratives, second half storylines. As we approach this part of the season. Celtics got a big win last night against the Knicks, 45-12, 19-9 on the road. I mean, they're doing exactly what we expected, right? Just being one of the best teams in the NBA, the best team in the NBA. So to get your thoughts on what you've seen so far from the Celtics and with the roster that they have constructed, do you feel like they're the clear-cut favorites to win it all?
They definitely have a chance to win it all. I think they have a very high percentage this year. But I'll be real. I think the Eastern Conference is up for grabs. It's really just like in the hands of the Celtics. And it's not a knock to any other team. It's the second half of the season. We hope that Milwaukee can figure out how to turn things around. They got a big win on Friday against Minnesota, and I want to say they beat Philly today. I don't exactly remember. I didn't actually watch the game, but they're starting off the second half of the season on the right track, and I'm glad to see that that they have made some adjustments and they're starting to kind of find a flow together, especially with under new circumstances with the new head coach Doc Rivers. But Boston is just a phenomenal all-around team. I mean, it's not even just. I mean, we can easily always highlight Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just because that duo, that tandem is just electric. But it's the other guys to me, and I think one of the more important guys on this team that we have to talk about is Kristaps Porzingis and just how he's been able to rejuvenate his career in Boston, and he's played a huge role on this team. Him being able to be good defensively, him being able to space the floor, him being able to play in the pick and pop, the connections that he has with the other guys on the court has just been dope to see, man. So Porzingis, just with his impact on his team, and even when they acquired him last year, I knew that he could be good, but I didn't really know how impactful he would be because people forget, even during those years in Washington, I know many people didn't watch, but he wasn't too bad. He was actually pretty good. I want to see he averaged around maybe 2 blocks a game or something like that during his tenure as a Wizard. So him carrying that now on a legitimate contender where you do have more eyes on you it's been really dope to see him, just continue to produce. So the Boston Celtics, I think the Eastern Conference is in their hands. And it's not a knock to any other team, like even Philly per se. I know that, they've kind of turned it around as of recent, and now hopefully Embiid is going to come back within the next few weeks. Who knows? But right now, I just don't see anybody else in the Eastern Conference beating Boston right now.
Yeah, if I would say anything on that myself, I agree with you. Boston, I'm still watching to see how they do as far as the win column there, CJ. As you guys probably have seen in our episodes prior, CJ predicted that they would win, 60 games, was it, or 65?
65.
Okay, 65.
I had them going 65 and 17, yeah.
Okay. So right now they are 26 games we said left, and they're at 45 wins, 12 losses, 14-1 in the division. I'm sorry, I thought that was home. So they're 26-3 at home, 19-9 on the road. There's a chance. 26 games, they only need 20? It would be tough, but there is a chance. So still, your prediction on that was far superior to mine and Nick's prediction of what we said, but we won't go into that. So, I think
we want to talk about all those predictions that we made that day, because I even tweeted this out the other day. I said that Jordan Poole was going to average like 28 a game, and that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, no,
had a good night. Had a good day tonight, though.
Yeah, but now he's not even a part of the starting lineup no more. It's disgusting in Washington.
That's awful. But
I would say free Kyle Kuzma. Sorry not to cut you off, but I would say free Kyle Kuzma, but
you don't want Freed.
Yeah.
He just wants the bank. That's it. But anyways, and if that's what you want to be, that's fine. Be that, but don't expect to win a ring in your career. Just going to say another one. Right. So, with that being said, I don't take guys. You all know I'm a little bit of a Cavaliers fan as far as their team with Donovan Mitchell and everything. I just like this team. But I'm going to actually say that they're a little bit of a pretender at the number 2 spot. I think it's a little high because the weakness of their scheduling, the streak that they've been on has been wonderful with all this. But the Bucks are the team, I think, to make noise against the Celtics. Hopefully they can put it together. They are at the 3rd seed right now, just a half a game back from the Cavaliers. But really the most contending teams to go up against Celtics in the East, Bucks, maybe Heat just because of what they are in the past, and the 76ers, if Joel Embiid is healthy when he comes back in mid-March, what they're hoping for. What about you, CJ? How do you feel on the East?
Yeah, obviously, I just looking at that Celtics roster even before the season started, it's just too many guards. It's too many guys to defend, and teams only have one perimeter defender. So when you have about 3-4 guys that can do a multitude of things, put the ball on the floor, space the floor, play defense, play make, score in bunches, you're going to be successful. And this is also a roster. They didn't even have Porzingis last year, and they almost, pulled off a remarkable reverse sweep. That's something that I don't think we've ever seen before against the Heat. So we saw the talent. We know the upside. Now when you bring in someone like Kristaps Porzingis to the fold, Derek White's taking another step, continuing to improve with that group. It's just the success is paramount, and it's going to come down to situational basketball in the playoffs. When they do face some adversity, what are they going to go through? Will they be willing to adjust? And I think bringing in Kristaps is a big factor. I think he is the X factor. 7'3", versatile. Can play defense, put the ball on the floor, post up guys. And the key thing that I saw even last night, but just overall throughout they've been playing the entire season, is their willingness to get each other involved and pass the ball. Because, you got 2 guys that could, that average 25, and then Brown and Tatum, they could easily go out and light it up and do what they want to do. But they understand the roster that they have. They understand the team that they have. They understand how close they were to getting back to the finals last year. And they understood how close they were from winning the finals 2 years ago. So it's just that added motivation for Brown and Tatum, 2 guys where you look at some of these other, they've been very fortunate. And when I talked about situations and I talked about scenarios when we was talking about DeMarcus Cousins, when they got drafted, they were already on teams that were contending, right? When Jaylen Brown got drafted, that was when IT was going crazy. And it was I mean, we thought he's about to be transform the game at his height, the way he was scoring the basketball in today's league. Thought something we'd never seen before when he was doing what he was doing. Then they draft Tatum. They still have a really good team, really good roster, but those guys weren't the guys. So they came in, the second pick. I think they both were third. I think they both top 5 picks, and they weren't asked to carry the franchise right away. They were complementary pieces. Then, as the years progressed, they developed into those guys. So they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals a multitude of times, and this is obviously things we've talked about on the show constantly. And that's what I'm saying. You look at other these young teams, when the way they start, they're just losing. 20-62, 15-67. It's just these young cores. They keep losing and losing, and they don't have the right coach. I mean, they're very fortunate to have Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is a hell of a coach. It doesn't always work out that way, and they've been very fortunate to have a situation where when they were complementary pieces, now they're the pieces. And I got to give a lot of credit to the front office. I mean, it started with Danny Ainge, and then now Brad Stevens is doing his thing, running the show. Yeah. And putting someone like, Kristaps Porzingis in there, it creates a completely different mismatch, because when they go up against Embiid, when they go up against Giannis, they have to worry about him now. They don't, and of course they got to worry about Brown and Tatum. Now they have to worry about him, a guy that can score 25 plus any given night, block a couple shots, just like Nick said. So he's bringing him to the fold was big time, and I think that's going to be the reason why they're going to be so tough to beat. Teams, defenses in today's NBA, they don't, they always switch. That's what teams love to do. They love to switch. They love to fight over the screen so you can get back on the right matchup. So when you do that, when a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, who's 7'3", he's matched up against a 6'5", 6'4" guard. That's food. That's food. As long as he takes advantage of that mismatch, as long as his teammates see him on those entry passes, give him the ball in the right spots. So all they have to do is just use his size and get an easy bucket. As long as they do that, it's going to be tough to stop them. And from what I saw last night and what I've seen throughout the entire season from the Celtics, it's going to be tough to stop them. I mean, there's a couple teams in the West that can definitely get them a run for their money for sure. But the way they're playing right now, it's they're definitely the cream of the crop in the NBA. All right, looking at some other teams. Let's go back to Michael. I mean, you talked about the Cavs. You said they were kind of pretenders. I mean, 36-19, and we know all the storylines with them, their record. I think they went 18-1 in 19 games at one point. They had guys in and out of the lineups. But still, they're able to win these games. I mean, we've seen teams lose guys and completely fall off the cliff. That wasn't the case for this squad. I believe this squad has definitely a new mindset after that disappointing playoff run last year. So, Michael, just talk about a little bit more about the Cavs and you say you view them as pretenders. What does that mean? Like first round exit again, second round?
No. The pretender comment is the second place in the East right now as far as the record. I don't think they really are that good of a team. They're good, don't get me wrong. I picked them, I think, 4 or 5 and finishing out. I think injuries on this, even the Heat having injuries, they're really high. They're a good team. Even last year during the playoff run, everything they do is defense-related or defensive-minded. So, I mean, when you can't make a shot, at least that defense is always going to be there. So, I mean, they're no disrespect to them. I just feel like the strength of the schedule right now, the absence of Joel Embiid in the East, plus the Miami Heat with some injuries and whatnot. Even your Knicks have been injured for a bit here as well. So injuries is a part of the game. I don't want to say I'm taking anything from them being ranked there. I'm just saying I'm not going to think a 2 versus 7 is going to be a 4-game series, whoever it is. The Cavs are in a good predicament, but that play-in team is going to have a good situation against the Cavs. I feel like that could be a good upset to put you in a good spot moving forward in second, and possibly Eastern Conference Finals there. Again, Donovan Mitchell has been an MVP candidate, top 5 possibly in the last 2-3 weeks, or at least in this streak that they've went on here, this big run. You've had some good play from the front court with their height, their blocking, rebounds, defensive minded. They're challenging the threes again. That was one of the main stats I talked about during the season last year. I think they were 93% challenging all threes, or at least had a hand in the window of that, and that was the highest in the NBA. They're still continuing to live on that, challenging the threes to give up the two more or less with their tall trees down low. So defense is always going to be there, and we know defense wins games. I'm not going to be surprised if they don't end up in the Eastern Conference Finals. It would be amazing, but going by defense alone, you can have upsets like that. So I like the team. Donovan Mitchell as the guy is still working. I think I was a year away telling you guys he was MVP when I went out and bought us a rookie card, hoping that I'd make some off of that. But now it's like he's finally settled in. He is loving Cleveland. There's been rumors him trying to get out or being traded. I think he's good right now. Again, at the end of the season, it depends on how quick of an exit. Maybe he ends up in that red, white, and black down there in Miami. But I like the team, and they do have potential. I'm just saying the pretender comment is that I think they are in a disguise at that number 2 in the East right now. They're a good team, though.
Nick, what's your thoughts on the Cavs, bro?
They cool.
What's the ceiling for this team?
That's a good question.
Depending on who they match up against, they could possibly get to the second round, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they are an early first round exit once again.
Wow.
That might sound disrespectful to many, but and I'll be real. I mean, give credit to this Cavs team for really turning things around, because I think this is something that I don't hear a lot of mainstream media talk about. Is the Cavs really playing well? So give credit to them. But like when it comes down to like them against healthy teams, I don't see them being better than Boston. I don't see them being better than even a healthy Milwaukee as they're trying to figure things out. I don't see them being better than a healthy Philly with a healthy Joel Embiid. I don't see them being better than a healthy Knicks team. So, like, depending on who they match up, whether it's those 4 teams, possibly in the first or second round, I just don't see them possibly getting ahead of those guys. But give credit to Cleveland, man. Cleveland's still a really good team, and this is just another stepping stone as far as their development. Evan Mobley has continued to be on the rises as a top tier power forward. I love the play of Jared Allen. I know that some people they complain about Jared Allen and they want him out of there because he doesn't provide floor spacing or anything on offense, but you can't knock what he provides to the table defensively. Definitely Darius Garland as well. I'm a real big fan of Karis LeVert, and what he brings to the table. So this Cavs team is really good. They're a really good overall team. And, when I say that they might get knocked in the first round, I don't mean it as far as disrespect, but I just don't think that they're top tier contenders as of yet in the East. Yes, we know that they can get to the playoffs, but I'm not too high on them as far as really making like a legitimate run, to the conference finals or even the NBA finals.
Let me ask you this before you go, CJ, my question may be more for you on your response with this. Nick, you're saying a first round exit. You wouldn't be surprised on that, but if they finish the season right now, they're a number 2 seed, and they'd be playing either Miami or Orlando or Chicago or whoever the other team is, as far as they play in there. With that being said, do you not think that they are the better team since they are ranked higher in that? Because I feel like Orlando.
But that's the thing too, is like you got to understand the situation. Like we said, Embiid's been gone for the last month now, so that's part of the reason why Philly has dropped so far. Then of course, Milwaukee's still trying to figure things out with head coach Doc Rivers. I just feel like once April comes around, I feel like a lot of the top contenders that we do believe have a legitimate shot at winning a title, they're going to be fully ready to go. Like Milwaukee, hopefully, I'm hoping that Milwaukee will turn things around and be on the right track by April. Same thing with Philly as far as getting back at beat. But I just look, I'm not trying to disrespect Cleveland by any means, but I just think fully healthy, I don't know if they can compete with a lot of the other teams that I mentioned before. So give credit to them for being the number 2 seed now and just being able to take advantage of their schedule and just being able to rack up a lot of wins. But I'm still not too high on them as far as them really making like a legitimate playoff, as far as like a legitimate playoff run. Now that first round series against Miami, it can go either way. Honestly, I know that people, they might side with Cleveland because they may have more talent, or they may side with Miami just because this is a team that we saw get to the NBA Finals in 2 years, twice in the last 4 years. So that's pretty much up for grabs as well. So they could possibly win that series, but if they do move on from that series and they get to the second round, depending on who they match up against, I don't know if I'm really too high on them, possibly getting out of that series and getting to the conference finals.
What's crazy, CJ, is whoever becomes the 7th seed has a nice looking run if it finished today. Because think about it: 1-8 or 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. Right. So
Correct.
3 is the Bucks, 6 is the Pacers. With everything's went down with
been
them
a little
this year.
brewing rivalry, yeah.
And the Pacers really have been the one that's always winning. It seems like I think they probably have won 3 this year against them.
Well, they won that one game in the in-season tournament, and then and then I think the next game after that, Giannis had that 64-point performance. So it's been back and forth.
Yeah. But I do think Indiana has won more games. I'll say that at least.
Yes, they have.
If Indiana were to have an upset there, you could have a 6 and 7 seed in the second round, which would be great if Cleveland were to be upset there. But I'll back up and I'll just let you go on out. What do you think about Cleveland?
Well, listen, I think from 2 to about from the second seed to the 8th seed, to the 8th seed, it's who are the Celtics gonna play? I mean, that's the real question. I mean, who are the Celtics gonna play in the Eastern Conference Finals? Because we know, all things considered, they do what they're supposed to do. They're gonna be a lock. And I think from 2 to 8, I truly believe it's fair game because Embiid's talented and he's special, but in the playoffs, he's not 100%. He's never 100%, and he hasn't even been to the conference finals yet. Now, yes, he doesn't. I mean, it's only going to be for so long. We can't just blame Harden and Ben Simmons all the time. I mean, as the years go on, it's like, brother, you're a top 5 player in the world. You got to be able to figure it out. And maybe this is the year they do figure it out, but it's still going to be questions because he hasn't got there yet. And all his counterparts have got there. Tatum, Giannis, they've already been there. Jimmy Butler. So I mean, he has to get over that hump. And I mean, they just haven't been able to get past Boston. So if they get a fair, or if they get a favorable matchup where it looked like they can win, and then possibly in the first round and second round, and do what they're supposed to do, then maybe. But those questions are still going to come about because he hasn't been to a conference finals yet. So I think the Cavs, they have a shot. It's just 2 things have to happen. It's the backcourt play from Garland and Donovan Mitchell. They have to be efficient. It's one thing to put up a bunch of shots, but you have to be efficient. And when I say efficient, not even just scoring, just being an all-around player. I mean, you look at the guys that have won Finals MVP over the last, let's just say, decade, right? LeBron, KD, Giannis, Jokic, Curry. I mean, these guys, you have to be an all-around player to elevate your team, do what you're supposed to do, which is obviously score the most points on the team, but also elevate everybody else and into victory. And Garland and Donovan Mitchell, they have to do that against these, really good teams in the East. They have to have an incredible series and they have to play well. If they're playing inefficient basketball and their field goal percentage isn't high, that's going to affect everybody else because everybody else is expecting them to play well. So backcourt play needs to play great, and then they need that X factor. And I've been saying it on the show. Since I've been on the show is Evan Mobley. I mean, since Donovan Mitchell got traded there, he has to be the guy. I mean, if he's not aggressive and dominant in the playoffs, they're not going anywhere. Because you need a front court player to offset Tatum, Giannis, Embiid, even Jimmy Butler, small forward, Bam. You gotta have a front court player that can also change the game and win you a couple games in a series. And if he's not able to do that, it's still gonna be difficult for them to get to where they want to get to. So efficient play by their backcourt, and Evan Mobley has to play like Evan Mobley has to be a dominant 2-way guy. And I mean, at least if Garland and Mitchell do what they're supposed to do, I need at least 18 and 19, 10, and a couple blocks from Mobley. If he could do that in a series with that backcourt, yeah, it's going to be tough to stop them because the Bucks don't play a great perimeter defense. the Sixers, like I know Embiid's not there, but Tobias, I don't have much faith in Tobias Harris in the playoff series. I'm just being honest. Like, he'll get 17, and you'll be like, oh, he had 17. I didn't even notice. Or if he'll have 7, it'll be like, yeah, that's probably right. He kind of just coasts a lot. He does a lot of coasting, and for a third option, you can't do that. You can't because the teams are going to obviously collapse on the first two guys. So you got to be ready to go. And we think about all these teams. It's who has the best third option in the East. The Celtics, right? Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh, yeah, best third option.
Yeah, best third option in the East. Kristaps Porzingis, I would say. Second would be exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I mean. It's fair game after that. You really for me as a Knicks fan, seeing OG Anunoby look like the way he was playing, he looked like a pretty good third option, right? But then it's the Randall questions, and he hasn't been great in the playoffs as a second option. So it's just that give or take for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks, what type of Middleton are we going to get? We know what Dame and Giannis are going to do regardless of the situation. But what are we going to get from Middleton? Or maybe it's Brook Lopez. We don't know who's going to be that third guy for them. Cavs, I just said it has to be Evan Mobley, right? For Orlando, a team like Orlando. I mean, Wagner, Banchero. They're gonna need Suggs. Maybe it's Markelle Fultz. It's gonna have to be one of those few guys that they have a night in a playoff series to pick up the carry the load for those first two guys. Philadelphia, like I said, I don't really know Tobias Harris. I don't really trust him as a third option. For the Pacers, who's their third guy? Miles Turner, okay.
Miles Turner or probably Benedict. I don't know.
Either one, but probably lean towards Turner, right? Because he's more accomplished or whatever. So it's fair game for Miami. Hero, okay, Tyler Hero, sure. So it's saying it's I'm telling you, the East is wide open. Outside of the Celtics and getting to that conference finals, there's not a clear cut number 2 to me. The Bucks are starting to play a little bit better here now. They were 3-7 in their last 10. I think they won 2 in a row. So 2-1 they just won 2 in a row. They just won 2 in a row. So they're starting to play a little bit better, which is good. Because for a team like the Bucks, and we could just transition to them. We don't have to go through every team, but it's a perfect segue later on to when we talk about JJ Redick versus Doc Rivers. It's what are we going to see in the playoffs from Doc Rivers? I mean, this it's not like this guy's been deprived of talent in his coaching career. I mean, you could say he's probably coached the best collection of players in his coaching career, probably maybe ever. I mean, obviously you got your Phil Jacksons and your Pat Rileys and your Red Auerbachs and those guys. But those guys have multiple rings, right, to show for it. Like, okay, yeah, we coach some of the greatest players ever, and we have multiple titles to show for it. Doc Rivers has coached a plethora of Hall of Famers and only has 1 chip, still riding on that 08 chip. So that says a lot about him. And Damian Lillard, Giannis made some interesting quotes. He said, "This is Dame's team. This is not my team." Nick, I think you had some issues with that. What's your thoughts on that?
It's just I can understand his point of view when he says that. Basically what he's saying is that Dame is a closer, which we all expected that. I think Dame has proven himself as one of the more clutch players in the NBA, if not the most clutch player. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't know. I don't want to hear that personally, bro. I feel like there's just so many excuses with the Bucks. Giannis is making statements like this. And then Doc is making statements about how he came in, midway through the season and talking about how he was shocked when Adrian Griffin got fired. It's like, you should already know what we're getting into. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should already know what we're getting into. Like, this isn't the offseason where you are newly acquired and you have some time to figure things out, figure out your rotations, get training camp, get some preseason run in. This is not the offseason. This is not July. This is not August. We we're like late January, early February. Like we are in the middle of the season trying to figure things out. So you got to understand that, when you are taking this job and when you are taking on this challenge if you're Doc Rivers. And as far as for Giannis, like I get it. Dame has proven has been one of the more clutch players in the NBA. But at the end of the day, we're not going to act like you were not really the best player in the league in 2021 whenever you won that title. We're not going to act like you didn't drop 50 in a game 6 to close a series against Phoenix. So you understand what the challenges and you understand, how to win at the highest level. And on top of that, Dame went to Milwaukee to figure out how to win because he couldn't do it in Portland. So obviously, I feel like you have to be the leading factor when it comes to that. And I feel like you guys got to figure out just a way to work together as far as potentially clinching another championship. So I could understand his point of view as far as him saying that this is Dame's team because when it comes down to stretch, where you're going to put the ball in the hands of, you're going to put the ball in Damian Lillard's hands. But at the end of the day, I still feel like Giannis still also has to be the leading factor in a way as well.
Me personally, if you don't care, I actually think that's almost him leading, though, just for the fact that he's taking that step back in the public eye to make Dame feel more at home with this team that makes that transition better for him. And I totally get what you're saying, Nick, and I do agree with you to an extent. Like it was coach's fault that he didn't switch and guard Jimmy Butler last year. Like, it was the coach's fault that they didn't draw up an X play at coming down the stretch. So I totally get what you're saying, but at the same time, I actually feel like this is more of a media representation of what he's supposed to say. Like, I'm supposed to say this is Dame's team. That's why we went and got him and gave up his best friend from the other team to go and win the championship. So if you're going to say that this is not Dame's team, this is mine, and that's why we made the trade, Dame feels like he's an added piece. But by saying that,
but also, here's my thing, not to cut you off, but at the same time, Dame should have already known that too. Like, Dame should have already known going to Milwaukee, you're not going to be the number one option.
I think that's some part of me personally. I think he is the number one option because tell me how many championship caliber team the lead guy doesn't have the ball in his hand more than not. And with Giannis during the season, he has the ball in his hand, but at the same time, when it's going to come tournament time and it's half court offense, it's going to be in Dame's hand more than not. I think when we get the playoff, Dame will have the ball more than Giannis will. It's just going to be pick and roll, feed Giannis, let him go to work. You got to do that. I mean, for real, like we know guards can't win championships, but it's guards with a big guy who is the star that wins championships. It's going to be a Kobe with Shaq down there. Now, obviously, Giannis isn't the Shaq post style, but it's going to be Kobe.
And that's honestly a good analogy too, because people could say Kobe got more touches than Shaq, but at the end of the day, it was still Shaq's team.
It was Shaq's team.
You had to run the offense through him. You had to pound the ball to him inside.
Yes, but it's going to be Dame's going to have to step up that score and let him feel free that it is actually Dame time instead of this is Milwaukee's time where Giannis is granting me this. Like, Dame has to take ownership of this team and say, hey, this is what we're doing. And Giannis seems like he is a great Robin in this situation. Say, hey, whatever you say, we're going to do, because he must need a little bit of guidance on his leadership on this. And I think he's making the right PR, again, stunt by saying this. Dame, hey, you lead us to the promised land, man. We're on this. We know what it takes, but offensively, it's you. And it's the truth. It is him. Don't you all agree? Offensively, it is Dame on this team. It's the whole reason they went and got him.
Well, it's not the best answer, but it's really both, because
I got you.
Giannis is the number one option, but Dame is the number one closing option. So that, and you guys just talked about Shaq and Kobe dynamic, right? Shaq was the guy in the paint, dominate the paint, but down three, or you need a mid-range shot when the paint collapsed, Shaq is not going to be. Shaq can't do that. So that's why Kobe came in, and Kobe was such a big factor into them when they don't go anywhere without Kobe, because Kobe was able to close those games when it got close late. And this is
why Dwight Howard never got a ring with Orlando, because he was the only man, and you can't win a championship when your best never has the ball. I guess I don't know.
Right. They never had that second guy.
They never had like an elite wing.
Exactly. You know, because he was great in the paint, but he couldn't create his own shot outside of the paint. So From a dynamic perspective, it's the same thing with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? It's what Giannis can't do, Dame can do at the highest level. And what Dame can't do, Giannis can do at the highest level. So that's why you would hope, this duo, this pairing should mesh well because they're not overstepping each other. They need each other. And when either one plays well, it benefits both parties involved. I still would like to see a little bit some more screen action between those guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, that should be their number one set. I mean, all things considered. I mean,
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Oh, without question. Without question, especially with Dame's range and how far he can shoot the basketball. And then again, with Giannis's ability, really in just, 2 strides, he's already at the paint. They should definitely be a scary, scary combination come playoff time. Talent-wise, duo-wise, it should be Celtics Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. But based on what we've seen from the Bucks last year, and just what we've seen from their coaching carousel, 3 head coaches in a calendar year, right? And then 2 head coaches in the same year when the coach that got fired was 17 games over 500. Like it's weird. And then they bring in the guy that was supposed to be consulting the guy that they fired, and then he takes his job. Like it's so when you look at it from outside, it looks weird. But at the end of the day, you got to it is what it is now. I mean, it's still a lot more basketball to be played, and they got to think about that. They had a big win against the Timberwolves on the road. That was a big win on Friday. I think a lot of people thought that, the Timberwolves were going to come out and kind of show the world why they're the number 1 team in the West. And, they had a bad game. It happens. It's 82 games. But the Bucks, I feel like the Bucks made a statement. A lot of people are talking about them. They brought up that same narrative I just talked about with the coaching drama, which is something rare. We for the last couple of years, we never really associated drama with the Bucks, right? I mean, outside of last year, the way it ended in terms of Jimmy going crazy, but it really wasn't anything. Anything like off the court was like what's going on with Milwaukee over these last few years, up until now. So it's when you bring in a star player like Dame, it's like I said that we said this, the expectations are going to be incredible. So it's just time for them to lock in. I think defensively, they're going to have to play as one, maybe zone it up a little bit. And what are we going to get from Chris Middleton? What are we going to get from Chris Middleton? His best when he played his best basketball, they won a chip. If he could do the same thing and come out and play well, get his feet underneath him, kind of get back to where he was a few years ago. I mean, he's going to get a bunch of open shots, right? We know the type of attention that Lillard and Antetokounmpo bring. It should be easy work for him. Easy work for all of those guys, Brook Lopez, everybody. But that bench has to be a little bit better, and also Doc Rivers, man. I mean, it's like I feel like in the back of his mind, he knows this is it. This is your last coaching stint in the NBA. Now, I mean, like he's not deprived of any cash because he was just broadcasting on ESPN. This is pretty much going to be he's about to be the face of the NBA, the voice of the NBA with Mike Breen and Doris Burke. So it's not like he's in a bad spot once this fails. But this is a great team.
Redick.
This is a great team, and how you got this job is going to be, it really what happens after is really up to him now. Because if it's a disaster, everybody's just going to continue to bring this up. But if they overcome it and, maybe upset the Celtics or, do something wild like that, everybody will forget about it. That's what happens when you win. So
do you think if the Bucks don't win it or at least go to the NBA Finals that Doc is fired?
Well, I mean, this year, I think this year they'll give him a pass because he kind of came in like mid first half of the season. But if by next year, if they don't get to the finals, yeah, he's out of there. I know he signed like a 5-year deal, but that means nothing in today's league, right?
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, these owners make billions of dollars. They just pay those guys on the back end if they fire them. So it's nothing. Write it off. Like
Y'all watching the Clippers Kings right now?
Yeah, I got it on my TV.
Okay.
Yeah. It's perfect transition. Go to the West and talk about.
Are you wanting to do the clip first?
Which clip?
With Doc Rivers.
That was kind of like a separate. Yeah, that was like a separate segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Just gonna dive into the West real fast with the storylines.
I got
and then,
you.
Yeah, we'll get to JJ Redick versus Doc Rivers. It's very interesting. Right in the West, like you guys just said, Clippers and Kings are going at it. It's a big game for both teams in terms of seeding. Got the Timberwolves, the Thunder, Clippers, Nuggets, who just got a big win against the Golden State Warriors on the road. The Pelicans, I think they're up right now. I think they're playing the Bulls. Phoenix got a nice win against the Lakers at home earlier today. Then you got the Kings, the Mavericks, who took a loss to the Pacers. The Warriors, like as we said, lost. The Warriors and Lakers lost today. So it's close. It's close. And Michael has said this earlier, man. Is it still the Nuggets conference? Is it still the Nuggets conference, or do you think there could be a team that could change some things up?
Well, I'll say this: until the Nuggets are out of the tournament or out of whatever, it's the Nuggets conference, in my opinion. I know right now they're ranked fourth, but just the way they played, it was a close game in the fourth quarter with the Warriors, and all of a sudden it looked like they just changed gears and we're up by like 10 in no time. Of course, with the Warriors, that can be erased in no time either, but they kept the throttle going, and I think, what did they win by, 13 or something like that?
Yeah. Okay,
so, I mean, the Nuggets are good. They know every role that they're supposed to be at. Even just watching them play there, it looks like helter-skelter is going on. You don't know what's going to happen, but yet they know where they're supposed to be at. They know where every player is going to be at for the right passes. The Nuggets are just phenomenal, and they are set already. But saying that, do you want me just to keep with the Nuggets, or do you want me to go through each team?
No, I mean, what teams do you see? What are there some sleeper teams out of these 10?
Can we call the Thunder a sleeper team now? I mean, they're a half game back to the Timberwolves. I mean, still, hey, until they are out, how can you even be upset with them? And to me, the Thunder are a team that gets these small market teams excited.
But how are they sleepers? They're 2 in the West.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Can they be a sleeper? Because most people don't give them the respect, even though they're at 2. They're like, yeah, they're a good seasoned team and they're up and coming, but they're not going to be anything in the playoffs. They have sustained themselves for the past 2 years of being a good team. I think this one kind of solidifies them compared to last year where they were a play-in. Now they excelled even more where they got Chet. So to me, I don't consider them sleepers. That was my point, is are they still considered sleepers even though they're number 2? Because to me, Timberwolves are sleepers, even though they're number 1 seed. Like, they haven't proved it year in, year out for the past for a couple of years. They celebrated a play-in tournament game like they won the championship. Like, to me, come on. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I would say yes because they're inexperienced.
The Timberwolves?
No, the Thunder. I would say they are a sleeper because you look
you still think they're sleepers. Okay.
Yeah, because you look at the other teams there. Even through the top 10, I mean, they're the most inexperienced team out of the 10 teams, right?
So the Timberwolves pretty close.
Well, Timberwolves were in the playoffs the last 2 years. That's what I'm saying. Like Thunder haven't been in the playoffs since 2000.
The Chris Paul year.
Yeah.
2020, right? 2020. So it's been about 4 years. This is a completely different team, right?
Well, they're in the play-in last year. I know you don't count the play-in as playoffs, but
yeah, right. I'm saying it's not the play. This is not the playoffs. Right. Yeah. So
okay, I'm with you. It's fine.
Yeah. So I would say, and this is a young team. Chet's, this is Chet's first year playing, right? SGA's obviously been there for a while, but this is a different dynamic for him in terms of carrying team to winning an organization. This is his first time doing that, and he's done a great job. Jalen Williams, MIP candidate. I feel like from an inexperienced standpoint, yes, you can sleep on them because you look at you ask any probably knowledgeable basketball fan, name me the 3 or 4 teams you think would win the West, and I promise you, none of them would say the Thunder.
See, it makes me sad, but I mean, I understand it because you got.
But I'm not knocking that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's why they're a sleeper because
Okay.
No one thinks they could beat the Nuggets in a 7-game series.
Right.
No one thinks they could beat the Clippers or Phoenix in a 7-game series. Some people may think if they match up against the Lakers could beat them, or the Mavericks or the Kings. So it's just like they're playing great in the regular season, but it's a kind of once the postseason comes around, what are you going to look like?
And I totally get it. I understand it. It's just, to me, for the past 2 years, they have been improving. They've stayed at this number 2 spot for pretty much all year. They're 16-11 on the road, which is great. 23-6 at home, which is obviously even better. You want to win when you're home. But as far as who has a chance to win, even though I just said, are they really a sleeper? The Clippers are really looking good right now. 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're kind of clicking at the right time. So that's why I'm really wanting to watch this Kings-Clippers games, because Kings is last year's best team, 1 seed, 2 seed for most of the year, and now they're down to the 7th seed. So I really want to see how they kind of match up on this game, how it goes, and if Kings can still make that noise, which I think Kings are a great team. What CJ was talking about, what I talked about earlier, is we've got 7 games that are between first place and 8th place in the West. So to me, it isn't wide open, but at the same time, there's only a few that I think will come out. I'm liking the Pelicans right now. They're 8-2 in the last 10, but I feel like I rode that so much last year. I don't want to get my hopes up.
Oh man, should we talk about this whole Pelicans versus Stephen A stuff a little later or not?
Yeah, I mean, we go to it now. I mean, we're covering the West.
Okay.
But what I'm happy about is the Pelicans. I'm pulling for the Pelicans, and here's why. My wife has a training with. She works at a college here, and they actually are sending her for a training in New Orleans the last week of May and June, I think, or the last week of May. If it's playoffs, I might be going to watch me a New Orleans playoff game if I'm down there. So I hope they're still in it. That would be awesome.
What part of May?
The end of May.
End of May? You think Pelicans still gonna be in?
I don't know about that.
That's why I'm pulling for them, because I think it's first week of June is actually when the finals are. So that would be putting them in the Western Conference Final. Yes, right. Trust me, I already thought about this and was talking to the wife. I was like, that would be one, amazing that they made it that far. 2, that I could possibly go and watch a game and have no life savings whatsoever left after that. But I mean, let's be honest. When the Pelicans are completely healthy, they've got some size and they've got some talent, like ball player talent that can get you a bucket anytime they want. Last year, we talked about it so many times that they got 4 guys that could actually score you 20 points easily in a game if they needed to. They still have that capability. It's just health is the issue there. And will Zion actually just flat out be dominant and improve?
Yeah. So Nick, you want to kind of get into what you were saying earlier about Stephen A. and the Pelicans?
Oh yeah.
Twitter account or X account.
That's the thing. I just so happened to see it on social media on Friday. I guess Stephen A. was on Get Up in the morning, and they had a segment talking about Zion and the Pelicans. And let's just call it what it is. Zion's been great this year, and I'm grateful to see him healthy at this stage, and I'm hoping that he'll be healthy enough to. Because I don't know exactly where New Orleans. I can't really see the standings, but
they're 5th.
5th, right? Okay. Oh yeah. They
just lost tonight to the Bulls.
I still have high hopes that they're going to get into the playoffs, and I hope that Zion will be available, because Zion is in year 5 and he still has yet to play a playoff game. So this is something that's really, really important to him. But as far as the situation regarding Stephen A., they were talking about Zion, and I don't remember exactly what Stephen A. said. Like I think Stephen A. said Zion's been playing great, but he needs to lay off the burgers or something like that. Yeah. And then word got out to the Pelicans, and their social media team just started going crazy on him. Started posting like basketball highlights of him airballing the shot, airballing and everything.
Oh, is that where he was? I seen a tweet that had him average 1.5 1.5 points and 1 assist. I just seen that and I was like, "What's this coming from?"
Yep, that's it right there. And I get it. ESPN is also, they're all about the entertainment and everything. So Stephen is going to make sure that he pulls off some humor, like while he is giving his basketball analysis, but. And I get it, Zion, his weight problem has definitely been an issue, but we also have to make sure that we're highlighting when he is playing great and when he is healthy. Like I said, Zion being healthy right now at this stage of the year is really incredible, because last year he had a really good season, but he went out in January due to injury. Then we never saw him again after that. So for us going into March and Zion is still healthy is really incredible. And he's been balling out. I know that I don't know if it was last week or the week before, we talked about how Zion has not really like worked on certain aspects of his offensive game because outside of him, being able to drive the paint and run downhill, we haven't really seen much improvements, but he's still a bulldozer when attacking inside, and he's still a matchup nightmare for a lot of defenders. And with him being able to take high percentage shots and being able to absorb contact and finish at the rim is really impressive. So I'm happy for Zion. I'm happy for the Pels. Willie Green is one of the best young coaches in the NBA, if you ask me. And with them being ranked number 5 right now in the Western Conference, it just shows the progression that they're making. I've seen a lot of people talk about, that they should break this team up and everything. Like, it just depends on what happens in the next maybe year or so. Because, right now, next year will be Zion's 6th season. They acquired Brandon Ingram the same time that they drafted Zion in that Anthony Davis trade. So I can understand why people are saying to blow it up, but I think we still have to see this team fully healthy in order to really make that analogy or make the observation. And right now, they are healthy and they are playing well right now. So who knows where this team could be? I know a few years ago you guys were super high on them, and y'all were saying that they were going to be like top 2 or 3 in the Western Conference. Honestly, if fully healthy,
before they got
hurt. That's true, and that's the thing too. Because honestly, like I said, if it all comes down to health, if they are healthy, this team has that capability. I think fully healthy, this team can compete with the Minnesotas and the OKCs. Maybe not beat them in a 7-game series. Who knows? But I think that they're just as talented and just as good as those other young teams in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna pull a CJ here. Who you got in the matchups going on here against Pelicans and Timberwolves?
In a 7-game series?
Yeah.
I'll probably still go with Minnesota just because they do have that slight experience.
As far as who's their number ones, you got Cat versus
number ones.
Cat, the players?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, Cat versus Zion. I guess like the matchup there.
I'm gonna give Zion there, but it's pretty close of a wash.
Yeah.
Ant-Man
against Brandon Ingram.
Wash,
yeah. Ant-Man against Brandon Ingram. I'll probably take Ant-Man. My personal.
But it's close.
Yeah.
But it's close. Whoever you take.
It's I think both duos, bro. I think that's a series that the Pelicans.
But Gobert and Valanciunas,
yeah, it's perfect. Valanciunas can space the floor.
CJ McCollum against Mike Conley.
I'm going to McCollum, but that's me. I'm a fan of him.
I will too. And even though Mike Conley's a great player, but
right.
I would see McCollum that one.
I would in that series. You ask me today, I probably lean towards New Orleans.
It's because we know the talent that they have. It's just they've never put it together for an extended amount of time. But as far as any time you go with the Pelicans and put them like player per player, pound per pound there, they match up well against anyone, really. It's just they haven't stayed together healthy long enough to actually do it. That's why I was high on them, or at least myself was high on them last year. And still am. It's just kind of pump the brakes because I was upset last year. And just Pelicans, Western Conference playoffs. Let's go.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, they have, like you said, they have the talent, they have the depth. You got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Alvarado, Najee Marshall.
I think that's what it might come down to is the supporting cast. Who has the better supporting cast?
Larry Nance and those guys. It's can they go on the road and win a game in Minnesota? Can they win 2 games in Minnesota? That's what's going to come down to. And if you feel like they can, then they should win that series because I feel like they can win 2 games at home. So it's I think they match up. I think they give the Timberwolves problems because Valanciunas can space the floor, and now Gobert's out of the paint, and that gives easier lanes for Zion to get to the basket, and those are easier looks and less contested shots for BI when he's going to the basket using his length and going to get into that mid range. So if they match up, that's a bad matchup for the Timberwolves, in my opinion. I truly believe that.
Everybody hide.
Is it sad that I hate to say this, but is it sad that I just now realize you're in New York?
Yeah. I'm back in the city. Back in the city right now. But yeah, bro, like it's just gonna be like honestly in this conference, to me, outside of Denver and the Clippers, and Phoenix. I think any team could be had. Any team can be had outside of those three teams because if you rank the players in that conference, all three of those teams probably got 6 out of the top 15, 20 guys in the conference. So and then
there's
coaching
no one on the Thunder team that's stopping Zion.
There's no one on the Thunder team that's stopping Zion. I mean, Lou Dort is that's. I mean, they got the same height, similar build. That'd
be a good match.
Lou Dort is good defensively, but I don't know if
great
he's defended
defensively.
Zion all 48 minutes.
But
let's be honest.
Yeah.
Zion's second best move is his rebound. You know, he gets to the basket, missed, but he's so quick to jump again on that second one. That's like his second move. You know, you may stop him, but he's probably going to get that rebound and put back.
You basically got to flagrant foul him. That's what Kevin Love had to do to him on Friday.
And that's my thing about them. It's, they have lapses where they don't play great defense. And Minnesota is one of the best defensive teams in the league. But most Rudy Gobert led teams in the regular season are some of the best defensive teams in the league, right? But then come playoff time, and if they have a bad matchup, they look completely different. Obviously, situation is completely different now in Minnesota than what it was in Utah, but spacing bigs gives him problems, and as it should. I mean, he shouldn't be out there. My thing with the Pelicans is they have lapses where they look terrible defensively. Like I think I go back to that 51-point second quarter against the Lakers like a couple weeks ago. What was that? They just lost to the Bulls tonight. That's the team you got to beat. You got to beat the Bulls. You got to beat Zion, BI were playing. You got to beat that team. I know they're having a kind of a resurgence, but you got to beat that squad, man. You have to. So, like I said, other than those three teams, I think it's going to be tough for.
It's like they know we're live. They're just outside your window making these random noises.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But like I said,
I don't know how you sleep through that, man.
That's why I was trying to stay at SC, bro. It's just better. It's better, but it's all good.
Good Lord. I was listening to frogs today while outside playing. Like, it's getting spring down here. It's like, hey, we got frogs. And now CJ's like, hey, we got sirens back. Like,
no frogs. No frogs on this side.
No frogs, no crickets.
Now, Nick, you go. This is so weird. You have frogs down where you live, though, right? Like,
yeah, we have frogs.
I think, right? I mean, as far as when it gets springtime, they start to holler and close to you. Like, you're not in city, right?
You know what's crazy? Like, I think a month ago, I was actually chilling on my back porch. This is around maybe 11, 12 at night. I was just chilling back there, listening to music. Out of nowhere, I heard a rooster, and I was like, I've never heard a rooster out here. It's crazy. Like, I just heard it. I was like, whoa! Like, what is that? It's crazy.
Never. That's pitiful. I don't have any chickens. Don't think I'm that hillbilly where I live. Actually, I lie. I don't have any chickens, but my dad actually lives right next to me, and he's got goats and sheep. So I mean, I guess we are country. He actually said today I made my kids go down and help him feed the animals, and he said I might sell the sheep and goat and actually get a cow. That way, when it gets big, we can actually just kill it and eat it. I'm like, that sounds good to me. That's cheap. Let's go. Could you guys eat a cow that you raised?
I mean, you gotta eat, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta survive out here.
Yeah.
Could you kill it?
Yeah.
You gotta survive out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Survive.
I got you.
This is it. This is how it is. Exactly.
I mean, we eat it all the time, unless you're vegetarian.
I don't trust vegetarians. They're liars in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
push come to shove, the tables were turned, and they were higher on the pyramid. Would they do the same to us? I believe.
Oh yeah, without question.
So that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it.
Shoot us? Yes. So it's a good shot.
Definitely. All right, let's get to the. I think that was probably the biggest story this week. Kind of in a slow week because everybody's coming back from the All-Star break. JJ Redick versus Doc Rivers. Now I'm going to play the clip from First Take. This is what JJ Redick, Stephen A. Smith, and Shannon Sharp talking about, kind of what we just talked about in terms of the East and who's going to be that second team to contend against Boston in the Eastern Conference. And here's JJ Redick's comments about Doc Rivers and the Bucks a little bit.
Before we go real quick, I want to ask both of y'all, do y'all both ever watch First Take like live?
Yes, yeah, sometimes.
Okay. I was gonna say, I mean, I think on Shannon Sharp's first episode, like that was probably the first time I've seen First Take live in like 7-8 years. It's crazy.
Wow.
But also, I mean, I'm really busy in the morning time too, so I don't have time to sit down and watch TV.
Yeah, I usually watch it back. I would watch like the segments. I usually watch in the segments, like segments I want to see.
I don't watch First Take. I can't stand it.
Sometimes it could be a little too much.
Yeah.
But here's JJ Redick on Doc Rivers.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. They lose to Memphis. Oh, it's his players. Memphis was playing G League guys and two-way guys. Then you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy.
Well,
there's never accountability.
Well, let me say a couple of things. Number one, that's a very serious thing to say, and we should take it serious. Because we should take it serious.
You can take it serious.
He seemed pretty serious.
Let me finish. We should take it serious.
He seemed pretty serious.
So for you to say something like that, it matters. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to say this because Doc Rivers needs to hear, and I got love for him, but he needs to hear this, okay? Just go out there and coach. Because here's the deal. You were playing an advisor's role in Milwaukee. And all of a sudden, now you're the head coach. People haven't brought that up. And the more you talk about how difficult this is, the more it brings attention to, wait a minute. Nobody's trying to hear that. You got the job, go win. Go win. Yeah. It's just that simple. Because it didn't happen in LA all of those years with the Clippers. It didn't happen. Didn't happen in Philadelphia. And now, I've said this, JJ, the second he got the job. If Doc Rivers doesn't, I'm not talking about this season because he came in there halfway through, but if Doc Rivers between this year and next season doesn't win, I think it'll be his last head coaching job in the NBA.
Spicy.
Okay, so,
I want to be the first to say on that. Yeah. I think it's very interesting. There's not too many coaches I've played for that I would badmouth like that. More like a respect thing. They knew what they were talking about, doing what they doing what they knew was right. Decision stuff. I don't think I'd ever really. I'm going to use the word attack a formal coach like that. So for him to do that, that makes me really question how much Doc Rivers really is a good coach as far as knowing what's going on. I know he's got a ring. I know he's played well so many places, or coached well so many different places. But this is basically a former player talking like this on him. Makes me just wonder on that as far as the accountability of Doc Rivers.
Well, so yeah, JJ and Doc have had some issues.
Right.
So, I think a lot of
Doc has issues with all of his former players. It's crazy. He got issues with Chris Paul. He's got issues with Ben Simmons. Like, just like everybody besides Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, it's the people you want to chip with, of course.
Got the ring.
I don't even think Rondo really likes him, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we were saying. I mean, this is really it for Doc, man. I mean, he's had multiple opportunities, not being held accountable. Now, Austin Rivers was on NBA Today later on and responded to JJ Redick, pretty much saying, actually, let me see if I can find the clip here. Defending his pops, obviously, and just pretty much saying, why would you have this type of energy when your best years were with my dad? And I mean, that's true. I mean, JJ Redick's best years were with those 4 years with the Clippers. Patrick Beverley kind of also said something as well. And here's the clip.
But in this regard, I just simply don't agree. First off, I don't feel responsible to take up for my dad. He's a grown man. He could do his own thing. But in this regard, I just simply don't agree with it. For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible, considering he's the guy that's always fired when things don't go right. He got fired in the bubble for a 3-1 lead versus the Denver Nuggets, which in half his team didn't want to be there. They had players saying that their mind wasn't there. They had guys leave. That happened. And he gets fired for losing to a team that was favored over him, which was the Celtics last year. It seems like he's always responsible. It's just as strange coming from JJ. And I have some love for JJ. You're my dookie. You know that. You're my bro. I love you. It's just your best years were with the Clippers. I don't think he saved your career. I appreciate you, Pat. But I don't think it – I mean, this just seems a little bit weird. They're 3-7. Dame has missed most of those games. Middleton's missed a lot of those games. They haven't even had their full team yet. We'll see what happens. The pressure is there. They do have to perform. But in terms of accountability, like, what are we doing here? Your best years in the NBA were when you played for him in the Clippers. Let's not forget that. I don't know if there's like frustration there or there's tension there between you. I know a lot of times we had to sit you towards the end of the game due to defensive reasons, but you had your best years as a starter there, especially our whole system was drafted around you because you're a shooter. You're not a guy who could put the ball on the floor. You were a strictly shoot guy. You're not like Klay Thompson or Steph who could put the ball on the floor. You were a guy who could catch and shoot, and you did it at a high level. Hell of a career, by the way. Big fan. But your best years were under him. It's just very ironic and kind of weird that you have this energy towards him in terms of him never, ever being accountable, considering he's always been responsible. First off,
Okay, so that's Austin Rivers' response to JJ Redick's take on his pops. I mean, Michael, what's your thoughts on that?
I just thought it was funny that he says he doesn't make excuse or anything. He's just held responsible, but yet through different situations where, oh, so CJ, what are we about to get?
I was just looking for the Patrick Beverly quote, man.
But and he was like, oh, but it blew a 3-1 lead because somebody wasn't or players wouldn't want to be in the bubble. I mean, you're a paid athlete to be there to try to win a championship. Like, who cares if you want to be there or not? I don't want to go to work tomorrow, but I got to because I'm basically contracted to be there. So that's a crap of an excuse.
And on top of that, it's like he said, they were up 3-1.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they just went into the series and just didn't care and got swept. You guys had the series lead.
So to me, I don't care if the team is supposed to beat you. If you're up 3-1 and you can't win one of the next 4 games, basically 3, but like
3.
Yeah,
I don't think that's an excuse. Like, come on, like you can't win one when you're up 3-1. You already won 3. You can't win another one. Oh, they're supposed to beat us, so they finally got good again, I guess.
Yeah, he talked about the Celtics. Yeah, he talked about that Celtics series, and with the Sixers last year, he was like, the Celtics were favored. But you guys had a 3-2 lead, and you had Game 6 in Philadelphia,
and they had the reigning MVP.
And with the reigning MVP, and I mean that game was right there. They folded. They folded.
And not to mention that you let James Harden go to Vegas during the playoffs.
Did he go to Vegas?
I believe so. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Yeah. I might have forgotten about it.
So this is Patrick Beverly, who's a player on the Bucks. Was coached by Doc Rivers with the Clippers. Now, obviously, being coached by Doc Rivers on the Milwaukee Bucks. Defending Doc. That's what he said to JJ. This man, Doc, actually saved your career. Started when no one else wanted to, and you retire and go on TV and say that. And then JJ Redick responds, Pat, my guy, had a 4-year offer with the player option for the same money to be a starter for a different team. F out of here, saved my career. And I believe that was the Timberwolves at the time. He had like a 4-year deal with Minnesota back then. And instead he took the Clipper deal because, I mean, listen, they had a great team. I mean, this is what we were just talking about. You got Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Redick, of course, Jamal Crawford coming off the bench, Matt Barnes, Kenyon Martin. Team was stacked. And they lost to the Rockets. What happened?
Did they win a ring with that stacked team?
No, they did not. They did not. They did not win a ring with that stacked roster. Blake got hurt. Chris Paul got hurt. It was a rough one. But yeah, so like what? So what side are you guys on? I mean, I know what side Michael's on. Like, I'm obviously not a Doc Rivers fan, but Nick, what about you, man? Do you think JJ, could have said things a little bit differently when it comes to being accountable. Because I mean, in a way, in some of what Austin Rivers said, I agree with. He does get fired when he folds. So I mean, that is him he is being held accountable.
Responsible, yeah.
Yeah, because he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So if he was continuing to keep jobs and he wasn't performing, then yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, if they continue to let him go, and because he's not getting the teams that he's coaching that are that talented to the point they're supposed to be, he should definitely. It's true. He's not being held to that standard. I mean, he is being held to that standard because he's not getting it done.
If he's not fired, front office is fired. I mean, that's just what it is.
Right. Yeah. Somebody's always got to be the scapegoat. Always. When the team loses or has a disappointing season, there's always a scapegoat.
Well, I wouldn't even call it a scapegoat. I'd actually say they're doing their job. Like Doc Rivers didn't do his job, so he's got to go because I'm going to do my job.
Yeah, more times than not, it's always going to be the head coach, just because they are the ones that are on the sidelines and they have to understand situations, understand when to make those adjustments, those lineup rotations. So, there's always going to be held, as far as, upon the head coach. But as far as both sides, I can understand both perspectives. I guess maybe some could say that JJ may have some, issues that we may not know about with Doc Rivers, and that may be part of the reason why he ended up going on a rant on First Take. Who knows? But I could definitely understand some of his viewpoints, because I mean, Doc has always been a guy that tends to kind of, I want to say always throws guys under the bus, but has like certain quotes or says some certain things that may rub people off the wrong ways. Like for instance, like I remember in 2021 after Philly lost to Atlanta in that Game 7. And then one of the reporters asked him, like, "Hey, will Ben Simmons still be a starting point guard moving forward?" And then Doc comes out of nowhere and says, "I don't know." And that just kind of gives people like a glimpse of, and I get it, Ben Simmons had a horrible Game 7. We all know that. But it's still just like saying things like that kind of makes you not kind of have, especially if you're a guy like Ben Simmons, not have trust that, a lot of the guys on your team. And that's part of the reason why Ben said, "Yo, I'm about here. I'm going to go to LA. I'm not coming back. I don't care how much money I lose, get me out of here." So I can understand it from that perspective. And also, as far as Austin Rivers side as well, I could definitely agree with some certain points, talking about how, he does end up getting dismissed as a head coach, and him being held accountable. He brought up the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead in the bubble. I disagree with last year what took place with Philly and Boston, because they were up 3-2, and you do have the reigning MVP. And I mean, yes, the Boston was favorable, but we can't act like Philly was not a contender. You know what I'm saying? Like they stole Game 1 on the road. I want to say Harden had like 45 points in that game, so it wasn't like Philly was never in that series. Like, they definitely had a lot of moments where they could have taken that series. And hell, in that Game 6, they were up, and people forget Jason Tatum didn't shoot the ball well at all throughout the first 3 quarters. Then out of nowhere, he caught fire. Then they win. Boston wins Game 6. Carry that momentum into that Game 7. That's when Tatum had 51, and then your two best players, Joel Embiid and James Harden, they folded. So, so I mean, there's been a lot of moments where, where Doc could have, finished out a series, or definitely could have done better, but he just didn't. So I can understand Austin's point of view, but as far as Pat Bev saying that JJ Redick saved his career, like, we can't talk like JJ Redick has ever really been a scrub in his career. No, he's never been an all-star, but he's never been a scrub. He's never been a bad player. I mean, hell, he was one of the greatest scorers of all time in Duke history. Then you carry that to Orlando. He played a big role in them getting to the finals in 2009. And even with the Clippers, him playing in the backcourt next to Chris Paul, I get that. And I get it, maybe stat-wise, you could say that his best years were with the Clippers, but we can't act like JJ Redick has never been a valuable player throughout his career, even outside of the Clippers. Like I mentioned Orlando, and then we also got to mention Philly as well, playing next to Embiid, playing next to Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and those guys. So JJ's always been a valuable player, at least in my opinion, throughout his career. No, he's never been an all-star player, but he's always been valuable. He's always been valuable, especially with his shooting and everything. So I can get it. I can understand where everybody's coming from, but if I'm going to side with anybody in this situation, I'll probably more so side with JJ, just because I think JJ does make some valid points. Maybe he did come off as a little bit more emotional. Like I said, there may be some issues that he may have personally with Doc Rivers, but I think out of all this, I might have to side with him on this one.
You want me to go or you go?
Yeah, no, you can go, bro. I already pretty much said.
All I want to say is Doc Rivers has already been in the news line more about bad stuff than good stuff, and he's only been there for, 7 games?
He's been there for about a month now.
12. Yeah, this is his 12. Tonight was his 12th game. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, 12 games, so a few more, but still, like, at some point, we have to realize that Doc is a mediocre coach. He's just barely over 500 as a career in playoffs. Like, I went down the stats last week, I think it was, where it's saying he is basically 50% winning.
Mediocre is crazy, man.
I mean,
I don't know why that's so funny.
Yeah, he's one of those weird coaches, man. Like you said, his playoff record is mediocre, but then he's like 8 all time.
It doesn't because like it doesn't matter because that 08 championship is just gonna rank high than everything else, and that's why he's gonna keep getting these head coaching jobs.
Because it was the first chip for PG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, right? If they had chips before him, no, we wouldn't care. But since it was that year where all three of them got their championship together, he's always going to be a part of that.
Right. And even then, even like during his run in Boston, they blew a lot of leads too. People forget when they played the Lakers in the second final series, I want to say it was 2010. Yeah, it was 2010. They were up 3-2 in that series, and then they ended up losing Game 7 in LA. And then people forget in 2012, when they played Miami in the conference finals, they were up 3-2. That was when LeBron had to go crazy for that 45-point game in Game 6. So Doc, this is a Doc thing, man.
so I'm just going to say, so everyone knows officially, I'm going with JJ Redick on this. I mean,
shocker.
But this is what ticks me off, honestly, about Pat Beverly. If you disagree with him, don't come at the man and like go by his skill sets and stuff. Like, if you disagree with him, go with what you disagree with. Don't go at and cut at a man. Like, I don't appreciate that, really. Like, okay, you don't agree with what I say about this, but yet you're going to bring up my past and what I did. Like, that don't make no sense to me. Go at me and say, hey, I can't believe you said this because Doc has done this, this, and this. Like, you're calling this guy mediocre as a basketball player when really he was a superior role player at the top level, basically. I mean, he had to be on every team. Every team has a pure shooter. Like, I don't care who you are, there's a pure shooter. He was well on defense as well. I don't even want to go to college and say that team again, but at college he was definitely dominant as well. So, I mean, JJ
We're in a
Redick,
different conference, Michael. It's okay.
it's not okay. You don't even know.
It's okay.
But JJ Redick had a huge career in the NBA. So to cut at him on this, I think it's just petty, really.
Well, listen, Pat Bev, obviously he's going to defend Doc Rivers. I mean, that's his coach right now. You need the minutes, and it's just what it is, right? You don't want to.
Coach, you see, I got your back.
Yeah, why not? You got a podcast, you got a voice. Why not? It's smart. It's smart. Beasley missing a couple shots. Let me get some run. Let me get some run with Dave in the backcourt. Nah, but Pat. That's just Pat Bev, bro. That's just who he is. He's always been that way. Yeah, I saw it with JJ as well. Just because Doc Rivers' track record just consecutively over the last decade, like has been average. Regular season, great. Postseason, exactly, mediocre. And that's kind of what he's been since that chip with the Celtics 16 years ago. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, 16 years ago that they won that chip. He hasn't won a championship in 16 years. So,
Bulls, I hate to say it, but I believe any other coach would have won or at least went to Western Conference Finals with Chris Paul, Griffin, and Jordan, not to mention with JJ Redick on that team.
Well, we also got to remember Chris Paul always got hurt. This is what we talked about too. Chris Paul,
he definitely did.
It was always something, hamstring.
And even when he was healthy, he didn't play well either in a lot of those series.
Yeah, Blake, same thing. Always got hurt. You see the injuries, like Blake, his prime, his athleticism fell off drastically. Like he was 32, and he looked like a completely different player. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we see guys right now, 32, 33, still playing at a high level. Once he got to 32, 33, it was over. Just too many knee injuries. I mean, he started off with a torn ACL, but he couldn't even start his rookie season because he had a torn ACL. So we knew that was going to catch up to him. That's why I'm a little scared about Embiid. But yeah. So and then Ben Simmons, just collecting checks and not hooping. So
what a lie.
So all eyes will be on Milwaukee, man. They probably have the most pressure of any team. I think just because of everything. I mean, everybody's going to be watching them.
It may have been the worst hire that they could have done, not because it's Doc Rivers, but because it adds so much more pressure for Doc Rivers and Milwaukee Bucks.
I agree. We'll see what happens if they fold or they rise to the occasion. We definitely gonna find out. Next topic we got here: should Tatum be the front runner for MVP? Now Tatum was asked this question by the media, like, should he be in the contention for MVP, even though he doesn't have the type of stats like we talked about SGA, Luka, and these guys. And here's what he said: I don't have the points per game. The other 3 or 4 guys will, but I think the voters are smart enough to understand the dynamic of our team, essentially having to do less scoring maybe on certain nights, but still impact the game in a lot of ways to kind of ensure that we win every single night. So, I mean, that to me is the definition of an MVP. Like, I don't know, but Nick, what's your thoughts on that? You know, well, is it unfair that, well, should the media, you know, should we be giving Tatum a little bit more recognition for being the best player on the best team in the NBA? Because usually, like that, I mean, isn't that how it's supposed to be, right?
That is how it's supposed to be, honestly. And you know, I think he should be highlighted as one of the MVP candidates. Boston has been consistently one of the best teams in the NBA, not just in the Eastern Conference, in the NBA. And the reason behind that has been Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum continues to take his game to another level. Obviously, we already know what he brings to the table offensively, but also defensively, he's continued to elevate as well. So I think Tatum should definitely be in that conversation. And the MVP award is always just so weird to me because, yes, it should always go to the best player on the best, or you know, who's leading the best team, but it doesn't always come to that. But and then it also goes to the most talented player as well. Like, for instance, like we always, like a lot of basketball heads, they always debate 2006 when Steve Nash won the MVP, but you had Kobe, you had LeBron, and you had Allen Iverson all averaging like 33 plus points a game. But at the end of the day, Nash, and I don't believe the Suns had the best record in the NBA that year, but they were definitely up there as far as the top tier contenders in the league. So, you know, that was always controversy there. So yeah, I could definitely understand where he's coming from. You know, he's been the leading factor on the best team in the league, and you know they've been consistently good all year. Is he my personal favorite to win MVP? Not necessarily, but I think he should definitely be top 3 or top 4. You know, when you talk about, you know, I know that stat wise his numbers may not jump out, but he's been great. He's been great overall. But if you ask me who's going to win it, I mean, Michael's probably going to like me saying this, but I think SGA is probably going to end up coming out with it personally. With OKC and their elevation this year, and then the numbers that he's putting up. I mean, he averaged 30 last year, and for him to be able to do that once again this season, and on top of that, OKC is winning, I think that's going to help him win the MVP award. And on top of that, you know, the whole 65-game rule as well plays a role in that as well. And SGA's been available just about every night. I don't know exactly how many. I know he's missed some games. I don't know exactly how many games he's missed, but he's definitely been available more times than not. So I like Tatum. I can understand that you know he believes that he should be an MVP candidate, and he's right. You know, he definitely deserves to be an MVP candidate, but I just don't think it's going to work in his favor this year.
I'm almost ready.
Are you good?
Almost ready.
Okay, I think I am ready.
Okay.
So the question is, does Tatum deserve to be the MVP this year because they're the number 1 team in the NBA, right?
Well, yeah, should he be the front runner, right?
Okay, so I'm just going to back up a couple of years, and I'm going to toot my own, you know, guy like the NBA plus his team. But in 2022, there was a team in the Western Conference that was number 1 pretty much all year. They actually end the season winning 64 games, real close to that 65 that you were talking about there, CJ, for the Celtics. Do you guys perhaps know who that team was?
It was the Nuggets.
It was not the Nuggets.
It was the Phoenix Suns.
It was the Suns.
You said last year? Oh, it's 2022. My fault.
22. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
The year before. 22. Do you know who won the MVP that year? He did play for the Nuggets.
Jokic, right?
Yeah, Jokic.
Jokic.
Yeah, and they were the
Do you
16th.
know who was never mentioned in the conversation? Devin Booker was never really mentioned in the conversation of being the MVP front runner ever during that year, because I tried to combat for him with you guys. You're like, well, he's not really proved it. This is new for them, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. 64 wins, and they're on pace for 65 wins, and the number one team, just like the Phoenix Suns. So Tatum right now is averaging 26 points, 26.7 points. So I'll give him 27 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. Devin Booker in his 2022 season averaged 26.8 points, so pretty much 27 points. He averaging half a block a game, 1.1 steal, and 4 assists with a total of 5 rebounds. Those kind of sound pretty similar, don't they?
Right.
So do I want to say that Tatum deserves to be in the conversation as a front-runner MVP? If I do, and if anyone does, they contradict themselves from the 2022 season when they didn't give Devin Booker any of this love. So I'm going to say he needs to be in the conversation because Devin Booker should have been, but these other guys are playing so much better, superior compared to the stats, it's hard not to. Plus, the number 2 team is the Thunder, who has the MVP top person right now. So that's my only argument there. Yes, he needs to be considered, but SGA is just so much better right now, stat-wise. Let me add stat-wise before you come at me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's putting up better numbers because he has to.
Right.
That's kind of what Tatum is saying. It's like I have Brown, Porzingis,
There's
Derek
always
White,
an excuse, guys.
Horford. Like, he doesn't have to. I mean, he could go out and he could go average 30 a night if he wanted to, but he doesn't have to. He's doing the other thing, and this is kind of what he's saying in the quote is, okay, I'm not scoring 30 like these other guys, but I'm doing the other things to help the team win, which is why we're victorious. And, once obviously when they need me to close late in the shot clock, knock down shots, he's obviously going to be there. He's obviously going to be that guy. That's what he's been doing over the last 4 years. Should he be the front runner? Listen, you can make anyone can make the argument for him to be the front runner right now. You brought up Jokic winning that year. That was a weird one. I feel like it wasn't really a clear cut. The year before Jokic, yeah, like, okay, I could see why. But when he went back to back, it wasn't like, yeah, he should be a back to back MVP. There was some discussion about that. Booker definitely should have had more recognition. I mean, I blame the writers and the NBA media. I mean, like we just talked about, these guys talk about NBA all day on TV, and these guys went 64-18. And no one ever brought up. But it wasn't until they went to the finals, really, is when they really got the recognition.
Yep.
It felt like it's like once they got to the finals, that's when everybody said, "Oh yeah, okay, this team is really good," and Booker should get more love. This year is different because Giannis already has 2, Jokic has 2, and Embiid's not going to have enough games to win 2. But he was definitely on pace to go back to back. How crazy that would have been. 3 players back-to-back MVPs in 6 years is crazy. But, like Embiid's not going to have the games. So now you got to look at, okay, what else would we see? What's the fresh, great story right now? It's Oklahoma City Thunder, right? I mean, that's the best story in basketball right now. From where they came from when they had KD and all those guys to that. I mean, I want to say it was a 4-year rebuild? Right? When did they trade Russ to the Rockets? It was that 2020, right? 2019, 2020?
That was 2019, yeah.
2019, yeah. So I mean, looking at a 4 or 5 year rebuild, and now they're the second team in the West. Like, so and SGA is continuing to do what he's doing, 31-6-6, pretty much. I think it's going to be between. I think it should be between SGA, Tatum. And then after that, Luka. I mean, Luka obviously is playing well. They're not going to give it to Giannis and Jokic. Giannis and Jokic is going to be top 5 candidates, but they're not going to win it because, again, the media has fatigue, and I think these other guys deserve to have the MVP as well. You can't just oversaturate the award with 3 guys. So it's gonna be someone new, and I appreciate Tatum coming out and saying something like that too, because I could do exactly what SGA is doing right now on the Oklahoma City Thunder. You telling me Tatum can't go on the Thunder right now, average 36 and 6? Easy.
But he's not.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do that with the Celtics.
Right. But here's my thing. And I totally get it. I do. But, like, to me, it's almost a complaint. Like,
It's not like, how is it a complaint? Like, if
he's complaining that he's not a front runner because he could go make the stats, but he's on a team that he doesn't have to do that. So it's like, I should get it because I'm on the best team and I'm the best player on this team, but I'm not doing the stats like everyone else. Like, it's complaining.
Right. His stats are like what, 4 points, a couple of rebounds, and a couple of assists away from SGA. You said 27, 8, and 4, and
yes.
SGA is what, 31, 6, and 6.
Right.
So I mean, like we're really splitting hairs. We're talking about a bucket and a couple of assists and rebounds. So it's not like SGA is having an astronomically better statistical season than Jason Tatum. So like I'm saying, it's close. It's close. And what you want to go with? You want to go with the fresher young story, the new story, a guy that's kind of been underrated because the teams haven't been good, and now he's playing well, and they're at the one of the top teams in one of the best, most competitive conferences in the last couple years. It has always been competitive. Or you want to go with the team with Tatum. They're the best team in the NBA, and he's the best player. I'm cool with either one. I think it's between those 2 guys, in my opinion.
How many votes do you think Booker got in that 2022 year for first place?
First place?
0.
Maybe 3?
He got 0. He got 1 vote for second place, 8 votes for third, and 49 for fourth place. So, I mean, I understand it's supposed to be the best team, but it can't hold all the weight on it.
Right.
I mean, if SGA is not on that team is garbage. He's the best player on that team. And
of course. No, of course. And when you have somebody MVP discussions, that's a given, right? So, but I'm just saying for this year specifically, because all the years are different. I think the media was trying to have Jokic be in that historic category 2 back-to-back. Giannis did it. This year, it's who's next, and I think this is the who's next era. Who's next time right now, and will it be SGA? Will it be Tatum? I think both guys have a great case, and whatever they do in this, these next couple 25 games or so, will definitely show it.
SGA.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a great story for the Thunder. I mean, they'd have 3 MVPs. Oklahoma City Thunder with 3 MVPs, like, and all 3 guys are still active. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. When did they start? When did they relocate?
2008, yeah.
So
because Katie played his rookie year in Seattle.
3 MVPs in 16 years as a franchise. That's pretty damn good, man.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
If SGA able to do that,
technically 4. I mean, I know Harden didn't win it with OKC, but they still drafted him.
Right. Yeah. So drafted. I mean, you have an opportunity. Well, they didn't. Yeah. Exactly. Almost 4. Like,
yeah.
That'd be pretty wild. And again, like, even though SGA was drafted by the Clippers, he wasn't this.
Right.
Like, we saw the potential, but he wasn't this. So I think it's gonna come down to either of those 2 guys, man. All right. In other news, Jacques Vaughn gets fired by the Brooklyn Nets. That have already been some, as soon as somebody gets fired, everybody has something to say. All these guys have something to say. all the stories come out as soon as guys get fired or traded. So here we go. So this is a quote from Mike A. Scotto, reporter, covers the Nets and the Knicks. McCall Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie reportedly were not thrilled with Jacques Vaughn's decision to center his game plan around Ben Simmons. Quote, behind the scenes, there were rumblings about players, including McCall Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, when he was on the team, and others who weren't thrilled with Jacque Vaughn's game plan centered around Ben. So, Michael, what's your thoughts on this Jacque Vaughn firing, and honestly, what's next for the Brooklyn Nets?
I want to answer the second question first. Who knows with the Nets? Because the Nets, I mean, let's be honest, when Jay-Z took them over, we thought, hey, this is going to be awesome. They're going to be this next awesome team. They did the rebranding, basically. I went out and got Kevin Garnett and got Paul Pierce as well. We thought, hey, this is going to be fun. They're going to change them around quickly. That didn't happen. So now,
not that. Oh, that was old KG and Paul Pierce. Ain't no way.
Yes,
and I mean they also had Joe Johnson too, but crazy.
I saw Joe, and then a few years later they go get Kyrie and KD, and it's supposed to be okay. This is Brooklyn now, and that lasted 2 years. Ben Simmons get traded or Harden comes as well. Fat Harden we get, and then that happens. Harden is out.
But also, Michael, you forgot to mention this, and many people can say that the Nets dropped the ball, but those picks that they traded to get Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett ended up being Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
Now they're in Boston.
So, whatever Brooklyn does, I don't trust anymore. This organization finds a way to mess up. You can almost say it's a dumpster fire. What else can you really go on about this? The Brooklyn Nets, we really expected more out of them. Everyone actually jumped in when, like I said, the changing, the trade for KD and everything, and nothing has went well for them. Nothing. We even talked last year, hey, this team actually looks decent with the trades that they got and everything. Bridges was playing well, and then all of a sudden it falls apart yet again. I hate this for Jacque Vaughn. I actually think he's a decent coach. He's a pretty good coach. Just doesn't seem like he ever got the players involved with his systematics, what he wanted to go with here. When it comes to Brooklyn, I give up.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, because I actually picked KD and Brooklyn to win it a couple years ago, and it was miserable. So I just give up on them.
I feel you on that.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, it's time for a rebuild. I think that this Jacque Vaughn firing is pretty much the calling on the card. I mean, I really don't even know what to say about Brooklyn, to be honest with you. But no, I mean, they tried to rebrand after the KD trade, sending him to Phoenix, sending Kyrie to Dallas. They ended up getting Mikal Bridges, and Mikal Bridges had a really good breakout second half last season. But I think we can all agree here when we say that we don't really see Mikal Bridges really ever thriving. It's he could probably make an all-star team maybe one day, but he'll never be like that star potential player that you could build your team around. And I think we can all agree on that one. But yeah, I mean, it's just time for Brooklyn to just rebuild, start fresh. The KD Kyrie experience didn't work out the way that they had planned to. Even in between when they acquired Harden, when they acquired Ben Simmons, it just didn't work out. So, and that's fine. I think it's just time to just look to rebuild, start fresh. Try to add some young assets, try to get some more draft picks, and then just go from there.
Yo, if this were the Knicks, man, we'd be the laughing stock of the league.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the fact that no one really cares about the Nets like that, because the Knicks are obviously the bigger franchise, even when we weren't playing well. It's just a bigger franchise. More prestigious. Yeah, these last 5 years have been sad. And I remember in 2019 when they got Kyrie and KD and the Knicks got Randall. Everybody was laughing at us. And Randall's been more successful than KD and Kyrie when they're in New York and in the state of New York City franchises. Randall's had more success. So it's just a sad situation. Jacque Vaughn, I mean, he's a solid head coach. He's not that, he's not that great. He's a good head coach, probably better as an assistant. the Cam Thomas situation was so weird. There'd be times where he'll play him, then there'll times where he won't play him. And then when he played, he'll get like 40. And then the next game, he's coming off the bench and not closing games. Like his rotations with his situation with Cam Thomas, I always found weird. I didn't understand that. Ben Simmons is obviously one of the most underwhelming number 1 draft picks of all time. I mean, there's no way around it. From where it started and where we thought it was going to go to where it is now, it's the only thing you can say is just it's sad. It's sad. I mean, it's a guy that really he doesn't want to get better. He's never improved. He's never worked on a jump shot. You know, we still harp over summertime, pro-am workout clips of him shooting, but never does it on a professional level because that's his job. Again, so like I said, he's one of the most underwhelming first number 1 overall picks in NBA history. McCall Bridges, yeah, he's probably a 2, maybe a 3, probably a 3. I would say. I mean, that's kind of what he was in Phoenix, right? Obviously, Michael knows this. So when you got a 3 masquerading as a 1, this is kind of what you're going to get. It's kind of what you're going to get right here. They got some good players. They got some picks. Sabonis just dunked on Zubats. Side note. But they got a lot of draft picks from the trades that they acquired. Me personally, I would relieve Sean Marks of his duties and let someone else have an opportunity to rebuild that team because he's had a multitude of opportunities. He was the guy that brought in KD, Kyrie, Harden, made the moves. I mean, if I'm Joe Tsai, and Joe Tsai is not the best owner. I mean, we can talk about that another time. That's a different podcast, right? Everybody got on Kyrie, and nobody really talked about Joe Tsai and some of the things he was involved in before he became the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. But again, no one's ever going to argue at the billionaire or the owner. No one talks about that. No one cares about that because the players are closer to the fans. But yeah, it's just a sad scenario, and Brooklyn, man, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's tough to say dumpster fire because they do have assets, they do have picks. Yeah. But it's just but it could still be a disaster because it comes down to what you do with those picks. So that's why I agree with both. I would just clean house, start fresh, and let someone else with some fresh eyes, new eyes come in and rebuild this team.
How many coaches have they been through in the past 5 years, 3 years?
They had Nash, Kenny Atkinson.
Kenny Atkinson was first. Then, they got Nash right after.
Jacques Vaughn.
So this is 3, I think.
3.
Yeah.
So this will be 4 when they hire?
Yeah, this will be 4, yeah. This will be 4 coaches in 5 years.
My goodness.
Speaking of teams with little direction, or maybe they do have some direction. The Charlotte Hornets.
Before you get on in here, I sent a text. I'm going to have to hop off here, guys. I'm sorry for inconvenience, but I've got a situation I got to take care of real quick, okay? I'll probably be done, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thank y'all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bro. I'll catch you later, bro.
All right.
Just looking for this. I think I might have accidentally deleted the clip or the quote. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a quote from T. Jones. So you have the first name? Tony Jones. Tony Jones from The Athletic, covering the Utah Jazz and the NBA. He talks about the Charlotte Hornets. He says, quote, "I think Brandon Miller is the best player on the roster, despite LaMelo Ball's counting stats being superior to Miller's. When I watch Miller play, I see a younger version of LA Clippers forward Paul George. As controversial as this will sound, I would trade Ball and build around Miller. Wow. Nick, what's your thoughts on that?
That's a tough one. Real tough one. But first, let me just say this. I remember all last year I was telling people that I would personally pick Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson for the number 2 slot. Everybody thought I was crazy for even saying that. And then once Charlotte drafted Brandon Miller and he didn't produce well in the summer league, everybody was like, oh, he's a bust and this and this and that. And now look where we're at. He's having a really good rookie season. And now it's to the point where people are saying that teams should build around him. LaMelo's been good throughout his career. It's just unfortunate that he's dealt with a lot of injury bugs throughout the course of his early career. And it's part of the reason why it might play a role in why it's really kind of stunted his growth in a way. Because honestly, I mean, like when you look at that whole trajectory of the 2020 draft class, I mean, LaMelo's still obviously active and playing, but those lottery picks, I mean, besides Ant-Man has really been able to thrive and just been really able to elevate his game as a potential superstar. LaMelo has
and Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton as well. I forgot about Halliburton. Yeah, Wiseman hasn't really worked out for him. LaMelo, I think that he still has the attributes, and I think that he still has enough talent to possibly elevate as that. But it's like I said earlier, we haven't really seen a lot of it because of his injury history. Even earlier this year, like early in the season, like LaMelo was playing phenomenal basketball, and then boom, he ended up getting hurt. He ended up getting hit with injury, then missed about 6 weeks, I want to say. So, but give credit to Brandon Miller, man. I mean, I know that people have been really high on Wemby and Chet and and what they've been able to do in their first seasons in the NBA, but Brandon Miller has to be right there, or at least right behind them as far as one of the best rookies in the draft class. This guy, I can see the Paul George comparisons. I mean, he's mentioned Paul George as his favorite player, and he even mentioned that Paul George is the GOAT in his eyes. So I can definitely see those comps in a way as well. But Charlotte is a team. It's just so crazy to me because, we mentioned them, same thing, in the same conversation with the Wizards, there really hasn't been a true direction as far as where this franchise can go as far as continuing to build and could possibly elevate as playoff contenders in the near future. But with a guy like Brandon Miller, you could add some positivity to that. I don't know if you want to just stick to Brandon Miller and just get rid of LaMelo. Now, it could be a scenario where Brandon Miller will elevate as the best player, and then you can still have LaMelo, and you could just have that nice backcourt duo. But I don't know if you need to just get rid of LaMelo, because I still think that LaMelo is a really great, talented guy. He's one of my personal favorite young playmakers in the NBA, and just build around those two. You know what I'm saying? Brandon Miller could still be your best player, and then you could have LaMelo as your second option. But as far as just trading LaMelo and then building around Brandon Miller, I don't know if I want to get rid of LaMelo just yet, just because I still feel like he has some value in his career.
100% agree. He still has some value, but it's been difficult. It's been difficult
Definitely.
First 4 years. Obviously injury plagued, and then when he's on the court, he's not the most efficient point guard. Around low to mid 40s field goal percentage. With the guy with the basketball and having the basketball that much over the the time when he was playing. You would like his numbers to be a little bit more efficient. Now, of course, also the team the rosters he's been on hasn't been that talented. He's been the best player on the roster, so maybe he felt like he has to force some shots and do some things he's not accustomed to doing, which could definitely hurt your field goal percentage for sure. And we haven't really seen Miller and Ball a lot, and we definitely haven't seen the duo as of late, and as well as Brandon Miller has been playing. As of late, because again, LaMelo's been out. So I disagree with Tony Jones's quote. This is his opinion. He thinks, I think over time, yes, this is very possible. Miller has the upside to potentially be the better player, but I think there's still another level that LaMelo Ball could take his game to. As I said, he could be a more efficient player. He could be a better defender, for sure. So regardless, it could be a Tatum Brown situation. What's wrong with that? I just think they need the right people in terms of team building, and they need the right front office. They need the right head coach. They need the right players around those guys. A couple veterans, when you're asking a 19-year-old kid to carry your franchise, that's a lot to ask. And I know they're the number top 3 pick, but from a human standpoint, human perspective, that's a lot to ask. Man, here, carry this multi-billion-dollar organization, and obviously you're gonna be on a bad team because that's why we drafted you so high. It's not easy. What LeBron was able to do, and he made it look easy, but it's not easy. KD,
Right.
Melo, what these guys were able to do, it takes time. It takes time, and a lot of things have to go right. And a lot of things have not gone right for the Charlotte Hornets. Right now, they're still looking for a president of basketball operations. More than likely, Steve Clifford will not be the head coach of the team next year. So they're going to need a president and a head coach. Going into another lottery team, going to another summer where they're going to be in the lottery. That needs to be figured out first. So you could have the players, but if you don't have the right people up top making the right decisions around those guys, you're never going to be successful. So, to his quote, I think it's just more about how the team is being ran more so than those guys. Once LaMelo could get healthy and we could see how him and Brandon Miller look on the court together, then I think you can make that then you can kind of make that decision. But the fact that we really haven't seen them play a lot, it's tough for me to just say, oh yeah, just trade LaMelo and build around Brandon Miller. Like, I think it's just too premature to come up with that take.
I definitely agree. I mean, and look, I mean, I think the Hornets did pretty good in the trade, or during the trade deadline as of recent. They did grab a guy like Trey Mann, who I think is a really good player. They also grabbed Grant Williams as well, who was known as a key veteran. He had a lot of great playoff moments with Boston, and I thought he was really good in Dallas, earlier this season. So this could possibly be a nice step in the right direction. But I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that it all goes down to what's going on in those front offices. As far as what they're doing and what decisions are being made, as far as really trying to put this team in a better position as far as being a playoff contender. So that's what it really all comes down to. It's like, okay, of course we could point the fingers at LaMelo for not always being available, or we could point the fingers at somebody else or whoever it is. But at the end of the day, I mean, like whenever I say that this team has not had like a really good direction, it's not directed at the players, and it's not necessarily directed at the head coaches. It's always directed to me at the front office for not putting them in a good position. So hopefully moving forward, if they do decide that they want to build around Brandon Miller, maybe that could be the nice piece of the puzzle as far as building around him. But they also have to acquire good pieces that can help them elevate and move the Hornets as far as being a true playoff contender moving forward.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Hornets again, in the news, but not for the right reasons. A couple scuffles went on this week in the association. I guess guys are eager to get back to playing some basketball, and hands were attempted to be thrown. And in some of these situations, let's start with the Warriors and the Hornets. Obviously, Nick could speak to this. Obviously, watching the
game. You got the clip. I didn't even see the whole fight.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna play it right now. So this started from a late game bucket. Kind of an unwritten rule when you're up by a lot of points.
So the Warriors 10-2. That's going to be a goal.
This has kind of been a thing recently because, I mean, most times, at least from like all my years of watching basketball, like when it comes down to like the final seconds and the game is pretty much already decided, you don't take the last shot. But a lot of players are starting to do it now, and I think it's starting to rub a lot of like key veterans the wrong way.
Yeah, so Keonis and I think that was Miles Bridges. Yeah, Miles Bridges went to block the shot. It's just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, trying to go for a bucket that late in the game.
Right.
I mean, in retrospect, it doesn't really matter. But then it's like, come on, you're trying to get a free bucket when the game is pretty much over. Like, right. What is that? What are you trying to do? Draymond came out and said the rule is dumb or whatever. Obviously, he's going to defend the side of where his teammate did it. Like
Draymond's a hypocrite, because I guarantee you, like, if the roles were switched and it was Charlotte doing that, I guarantee you he would have a problem with it.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree, bro. So the funniest part to me about this clip is Steve Clifford and Steve Kerr shaking hands. It's all love. Like, we'll go back.
And then they see, and then they see,
and then you see Steve Clifford like what in the world is going on? And look at Steve Kerr's face, like, oh my gosh, like really, seriously. Let's go back and show this clip. Look at this. Look, this was all love. Look at this. And then he looks.
Oh snap! Everybody just reacts like, "Oh,
yo, that was the funniest part of the clip, bro." More so, obviously, guys is chapping. Nobody's really gonna do anything. Nobody's really
nah." This is a different NBA, man. You know, hands. It's rare for hands to be swung.
Yeah, no one's really like that in the NBA, bro. Let's just keep it honest. And then we got one more clip from NBA Fight Club. This is between the Pelicans and the Heat. I'm sure the audio on that one.
This was definitely the biggest one of the night.
He took it away, and he's held up by Kevin Love.
But see, this is what happens.
Right.
This is what happens. This is Jimmy Butler and Najee.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised because they let it go.
Right, this is what happens when officials don't call fouls.
They let it go.
Right, this is what happens.
It got away. It got away.
Good.
Look at Thomas Bryant in front of us with Jokic. And we're in the middle of things. And what is Thomas Bryant doing? Unfortunately, yeah. Don't need everybody to get involved. But it's unfortunate that it got to this point because the officials let it go. So finally, the two teams separated. It's interesting. Zion thought he was fouled the first time after he got the ball back.
Okay, so a little bit of UFC. Nah, listen, man, these guys. So, what's your thoughts on that clip? They should have called the foul on Kevin Love right there, even though Kevin Love was really just trying to. It looked like he was just trying to help Zion. Yeah, hold him up so he wouldn't fall. But he still took a pretty bad fall.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a hard foul, and it definitely deserved to be a foul.
Yes.
Give kudos to Zion, man. Zion's showing some true professionalism, not even reacting, just walking away from the situation. And then, of course, you see Najee Marshall, you see Jimmy Butler get into the scuffle and everything. I'll be honest, man. I think, and I'm not trying to promote violence or anything, but I think we need some more shoving and some more scuffles, around the NBA. I think that is really good for ratings, and I think it'll definitely keep people engaged, as far as what's going on. Now, I'm not asking for anybody to get sucker punched and bloodied up or anything, but I like when there's a little back and forth exchange between two teams. These are two teams who are playoff contenders, and this is the first week of the first half of the or the second half of the NBA season. So I like it. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. There definitely needs to be some passion in these games. Now, I agree. Obviously, you don't want to take it to a level where it doesn't need to go to.
Right.
But I think these guys also know too. They're not going to throw any hands. You're going to lose a lot of money. And this
we saw with Isaiah Stewart a few weeks ago.
He didn't even do it, and that wasn't even on the court. And
right.
No one even saw that. Right. So, it's just. You don't want to take it there. You don't want to take it there because you getting suspended, you're losing your money. That's just a bad investment. That's just a bad decision. But you do want to see some passion. You want to see teammates defending their guys in situations that they feel are unjust, and and that they could create a good game if you do the things necessary throughout the game. You don't let the emotions affect you for the rest of the game. Right? You don't want that to happen because that could also happen too. On one side, a team could rally behind a situation like that, and then on the flip side, the team could have been playing well before that situation occurred, and it messes up their entire vibe. So, it's just as long as you have whatever the altercation and it's done and it's back to basketball. That as long as you keep it like that, that should be fine. But like I said, in terms of guys really really doing stuff like that, no one's really gonna be doing it.
Ain't nobody fighting.
Exactly. All right, and to finish up the show for tonight, got a couple clips from Allen Iverson, he was on Shaq's podcast. It's called The Big Podcast with Shaquille O'Neal. Had some interesting quotes. Wanted to get your thoughts on some things that Allen Iverson stated. Here we go. This is one they asked him who has the best handles of all time. And this is AI's response.
Steve Nash was asked recently comparing Kyrie to you.
Mhm.
I think he was saying that Kyrie has a more complete handle package. Is that something you agree with?
Hell yeah. He got the best.
Kyrie has the best.
He's the best. And Steph handle is crazy. But Steph and Kyrie jumper is wet too. But Steph, his jumper get him over a lot. Because he hit you with the
You're
hands
so
up. What
afraid
you
of the
gonna do?
jumper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he cross half court, he can let it go.
So you think Kyrie has the best handles ever?
Ever.
Wow.
Ever?
Who you think? Kyrie will have you beat and then bring it back and play with it. Like he toy with people. You know what I mean? Like he can still just go, you know what I mean? But if he feel like playing with you,
So where's my boy falling into that white chocolate?
he high up there.
That's who I would say had the best handles ever.
Okay, so
Nah,
Who-
Shaq.
who has the best handles ever according to Nick Andre?
Nah, Shaq. I mean, I can understand where Shaq is coming from, man, but I don't think it's debatable. It's Kyrie Irving, man, and it's not a knock. I mean, we've had a lot of great ball handlers, in our time. Jason Williams is one of them. Jamal Crawford is another one, but and then also Rayford Alston, Skip to my Lou. He was also a really great ball handler as well, but I don't think anybody has really mastered ball handling abilities like Kyrie Irving, man. Like Kyrie Irving, he can have the ball on a string. He can just do anything. Like just being able to just manipulate the defense to shift them wherever he wants them to go, and then still finding a way to get to the basket and still finishing with any acrobatic layup. So I 100% agree with AI, and it's not a knock to anybody else, but I just think Kyrie is just one of those guys that's just been able to master ball handling and just being able to use it to his full advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kyrie has the best handles of all time. There are some great ones. You mentioned a few: crossover, Rafe Skitamalu, Rod Strickland, Tim Hardaway Sr. Of course, AI himself, Jason Williams, White Chocolate again. So yeah, there's been a Steph Curry too. Steph Curry definitely. Because what he's able to do, and AI made a great point. It's his handle is so deceptive because you're so worried about the shot, and he'll do a quick move and break you down, and it's because you're so caught up on the three ball, and he's lethal. Curry's handles is definitely, I don't want to say underrated, but I feel like when we talk about Curry, people don't talk about his handles like that. Obviously, everybody's enamored with the 3-point shot,
right?
But when it comes to him handling the rock, he's definitely up there for sure. For sure, no question about it. No question about it. But yeah, Kyrie's just on a different level, man. Kyrie's just on another level. He's a combination of Jamal Crawford, Rod Strickland. He's a combination of all those guys that I talked about. AI, he has everything. He can do everything, and then his ability to finish around the rim after crossing somebody up too. To me, he's in his own class. So I agree with AI.
No question.
All right. The last quote from The Answer. They asked him, how many points would you average? You kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. We were talking. They asked him how much points he thinks he would average in today's NBA.
You played in an era where we were allowed to touch people up, hand checking up the court. Somebody asked me this the other day, so I'm going to ask you, what would you average in the game today?
If you went for it.
Ain't that too Mahone?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, if I averaged 30, I lost the scoring title to Kobe the year he averaged 35. I averaged 33. And thinking like, if I was to play in this era where it's wide open, if I can average 33 in a season, I'm gonna just take it up to 43. I know 10 points more.
I agree with that.
Gotta be.
I don't know if I'm going that far as 43. I definitely do believe that he can average around 34, 35, though, like without question. Like if we're seeing guys like SGA average around 31, 32 a game, and just some of the other guys like even Damian Lillard did it last year with Portland. Like we see a lot of these guys averaging like 30 plus, even Embiid, as a big. Like we're seeing a lot of these guys average around 30 to 33 points a game. I think AI could definitely do that as well. I mean, he played in a totally different era where there wasn't a lot of spacing. Spacing was not really a thing in the NBA during the 2000s. And, you talk about hand checking as well. And then, of course, the physicality standpoint as well. So AI, especially with how hard AI played on a night-to-night basis, he could definitely average around at least maybe 36, 37. I don't know about 43. 43 might be a lot. Now, he will have a lot of games where he is scoring 40 plus. But I'll say around 35, 36 would be great for him, in this era today.
I don't think he'd average 43 because I think his assists would probably go up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Again, with the spacing in today's NBA and the way guys play defense, he'd probably, make that read to the shooters. So even though he's not getting the points, when his teammates will benefit because of his playmaking. So I don't know about 43, but you also remember that Sixer team he was on. I mean, he was pretty much the offense, and then they just had a bunch of defenders around him. So I mean, for them if they were to win games, he probably would have. For that team specifically, he probably would have had to average damn near almost 40 points, even in today's NBA, because they didn't really have a lot of shooters. That wasn't a great offensive team. It was really just AI, and everybody else gets stops. But if he was on a team with some good shooters, a solid second option, like I said, a solid number 2 guy, he wouldn't have to average 43. But
that is true. Who was AI's true number 2 option during his time in Philly?
In Philly?
Yeah, I don't even know if you can really pinpoint a certain guy. I know he played with Eric Snow, he played with Raja Bell and a few of these other guys, but they didn't really move me as a true number 2 option for the team.
Yeah. Aaron McKee was there.
McKee,
Mutombo's obviously a defensive guy. He wasn't, so yeah. That's what I'm saying. Theo
Radcliffe was pretty good for a few years before he got traded, but
yeah,
he didn't really play with any other. His first true star that he played with next to was probably Melo.
Yes, yeah, and that was unfortunate. Obviously, I just think they had the wrong coach for that team. Now these guys going out, and it's just that team versus George Karl is all over social media now. If they had a different coach, those are one of those what if teams in the 2000s for sure. But yeah, man, it's I think he'd be a little bit more efficient too, because AI wasn't the most efficient guy.
Yeah.
But he had the ultimate green light, and he was a smaller guy too. But I think in today's NBA, with the mid range being so wide open, right? Because guys, teams are pretty much allowing that to happen. They'll give up a mid range as long as they avoid a dunk or a 3-pointer, and that's where AI lived. AI lived in that free throw range, 17, 18 feet. So he beats his guy off the dribble. That big man is sitting right there. Those are automatic pull-ups all day. I look at what SGA is doing in today. I look at what SGA is doing, what Brunson is doing. He'd be doing the same exact things, and he'd shoot better from 3. So,
that's true.
Like I say, he wasn't a great 3-point shooter, and he was averaging 33. So you take a couple more threes, you probably go to the line more in today's NBA. So yeah, again, I don't think 43, but definitely mid 30s for sure. Because I don't think he would need to get to the 40, because you would hope if he was on my team and I was building the franchise, I'd put some more floor spacers around him, so he could still have more opportunities to go, and not have so much pressure on him as he's trying to do his thing on the court.
That's a fact.
All All right, that wraps up today's show, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody watching, of course, for our listeners on the podcast as well. Later on, we dropped the pod. Obviously, Michael, had an emergency, couldn't finish the show with us, but MD Lawson 00 on X, Catch Chat Pod on Facebook, on IG, and on X, and also on YouTube on Wednesdays at 8:30. Make sure you guys check that out if you guys are into college basketball or Kentucky sports specifically. Definitely check out Michael Lawson. Him and his brother do a really good job over there on the Catch Chat Spot. Nick, where can people find you?
Facts, man. Follow me on X and Instagram at Nick Andre TR. Make sure to follow For the Love of the Game on X at Love of TGB Ball. New episode every Thursday, so make sure to be in tune with that. And then we mentioned earlier in the show, my newest podcast, Believe in FSU Basketball. I just recorded the first episode earlier today, so that should be out sometime this week. So make sure to tune in with that. Also, make sure follow us on X, Instagram at MSC Hoops. Subscribe on the YouTube. Subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, you name it. Give us 5-star reviews. I think that we are deserving of that, and that's about it.
All right, guys. Yeah, you guys can find me on X at cjames9_ cj.james9 on IG. And for streaming CJ versus the World with my gaming page, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next Sunday.
Deuces.